Yippee! Wah! Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to class. Happy Friday. Oh, it's the end of the week. It's the end of the week, and daylight savings is day after tomorrow. Oh my gosh, remember spring forward. Spring forward. That means we're losing an hour of sleep, by the way. For those who, observe daylight savings, we're losing an hour of sleep. And yeah, that's what that's all about. So how you guys doing? How you guys doing? It's time for our style study. I did a lot of research. I feel like every time I do a style study, I do like there's like another aspect that I like add that extends the amount of research I do, and it's a lot of fun, but it's also like, oh, I missed something. I mean, even now I'm like realizing like, oh, I missed something for today's style study, specifically animation, but you know what, we can also just research it on the fly. There's nothing stopping us from doing that. In fact, I'm gonna open a window for that right now. So 1950s animation. But hello everyone, how you guys doing? Let's go ahead and see who we got here. Let's do our greetings and then we'll get to class. So let's see who we got here. We got Saribot, a rock. We got Folk, hello. You got your sticker. Gojikins, hello. Glitch Mushroom, hello, you got your stick of beeplebees, hello, you are in fact first, if you ignored like the 5 other people before you, yes. You got your sticker, Sneef Snorf. Matthew, hello. You got your sticker, Alpaca, hello. Harpsichord and Jar, hello. You guys got your stickers. Sleep is for the week, I am the week, yeah. Yeah, I already have like a... My sleep schedule hasn't been that bad lately, but it hasn't been great, so this is gonna... Oh man, and we have to wake up early for driving practice and hiking on Sunday. Man! The Los Bincos Marathon is also this Sunday. I'm not running in it. I don't run. Never touch the stuff. I don't even have the proper running shoes. I just have the Adidas. The Adidas. The Adidas. So I don't run, but I have some friends that are actually, it's like work acquaintances that are running the Los Bincos Marathon, and they were telling me about how like it's gonna be 85 degrees Fahrenheit and it's gonna be hell. It's gonna be actual hell. So I was just telling them like, I hope you survive. Hope you have like a good amount of recovery time and don't die. You know how it is. How's it Friday again? Yeah, right? Time just be going. I swear you just said it's Friday yesterday. Well, it's Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Let's see, I have been exhausted all this week. Ended up oversleeping for work, so I called out today. I'm hoping that you got some good rest, though, out of that. Like, there is a little bit of anxiety with calling out of work, depending on, like, what kind of work you do. But there is also that kind of, like, that sigh of relief once it's done, right? Where it's like, okay, this day I could just kind of chill, you know? It's okay, Binka, we knew you really wanted to, so we signed you up for the marathon. No! Enjoy! Well, actually, the kicks are pretty cool. I do want to show you guys what the shoes look like, because my coworker showed it to me, and I was like, dang, maybe I gotta run in the marathon, because they look really good. And you know me, I'm not usually a shoe person. The shoes that you see on my feet right now, those are the same shoes that I've been wearing since my college days. I do wash them. I do wash them. Okay, LA Marathon shoes, just so I could show it to you guys. Okay, let's get to class so I can show you these kicks, as the kids call them. Get to class. Hello. Hello. Oh yeah, I was gonna play some 50s music. You guys ready for some Elvis? Is it playing? Hello? It does not appear to be playing. But anyway, hello everyone. Hello, it's me, Babinka Bear, your local Sun Bear art history teacher and educational streamer. And today we're doing a style study. We're continuing our studies of the individual decades leading up to the 2020s. Then we're gonna rewind back to the 1900s. Ultimately, this is for us to get good at time guesser, but it's also been a fun little research project to do every couple weeks. And how come the Elvis Presley isn't playing? Spotify's not cooperating with me. Alright, let's get some 19... Do they not want me to play the music?
For everyone running the marathon, make sure you load up your belly full of water and a full plate of pasta beforehand.
Oh, especially the pasta. Thank you, Mr. Pancakes. Do you have pasta for the class? It's so strange. Spotify's just not working, I guess? Okay, there we go. I guess maybe it's just Elvis Presley that's not cooperating for today. Okay, let me catch up on chat. Daylight savings makes me feel joyous because it means that fasting starts at 6 a.m. instead of 5 a.m. Let's go. Let's go. Nice, nice, nice. So you get some good eats before the day starts. Let's see. Do you really? Okay, I'll be honest. I actually I think I still wear Adidas a lot, but I also wear like a very specific type of shoes, Hoka's, because I went to the, what's the foot doctor called again? Not pediatrist, that's like for kids, right? Orthodont? No, that's teeth. Orthopedics? The foot doctor. The foot doctor told me that I have a heel spur. He took an x-ray even of my foot and he showed me the heel spur and it hurts a lot, but he gave me a shot, he didn't shoot me, but he gave me an injection and it made it feel better, but he also recommended inserts. And then he told me where to get the inserts and he told me that there's the inserts might only fit with specific shoes, and of course the specific shoes cost $200. So I've been wearing those shoes mostly. I think it is about time that I get a new insert though. So yeah, that's the dealio. But before that, I did used to wear like mostly just Adidas shoes. However, every couple years or so, my mom would replace them. So that was a lie. I don't actually have like the same pair of Adidas that I wore in college. I have some shoes that I like wore in college, but I just don't wear them that much. How pumped up are these kicks? Not super pumped up.
You know I get bent, I'm a bender. Future Arema dominant gene gone bad and passed along to my bloodstream pumping madness.
Whoa.
Pour a little hell down
Mr. Pancakes.
Standard practice how to detach.
Whoa.
From a white noise planet with a dispatch. Straight
He's
from
spittin'.
command to throw haymaker plus landed. Never take a win for granted.
He's spittin'. He's spitting. Me banana. Let's see. Wise words from Mr. Pancakes. Yes, always, right? Orthopedics. I think orthopedics sounds about right? The Proctor podiatrist. I think podiatrist. Yeah, are they the same thing? The veterinarian. How dare you? I have triple wide shoe size, so it's only 200. Only $200. Oh, okay. So I have no frame of. I don't buy shoes that much. Usually, my mom buys like shoes for me because I am not much of a shoe shopper. So yeah, this was, I feel like, one of the first times I bought shoes for myself. So that's why I was like, it's $200, dude. Binky stinky shoes. They're not stinky. They're not stinky. They get washed. They get washed every so often. Wise words, gotta figure out the formatting to paste it better. I also need to figure out how Pancakes' speaking works occasionally. Hey!
A podiatrist is a medical professional devoted to the treatment of disorders of the foot,
Oh, he knows so much.
and related structures of the leg. The term originated in North America but has now become the accepted term in the English-speaking world for all practitioners of podiatric medicine. The term chiropodist was previously used in the United States, but it is now regarded in that country as antiquated.
Yeah, right? That's not really a term that you hear as much Chiropodus. I think of the Chiropterans from Blood Plus. They were like these bat creatures, which I'm pretty sure it's because it's like the scientific name for bats or something. She knows not the shoes are measured in barley corns. Oh, is that why it's $200? Why were those shoes so expensive? Or at least, like I said, I have no frame of reference, so maybe that is on the cheap side. Maybe other shoes are all $400 and I actually had a sick deal, you know? But yeah, so I forgot why I was talking. Oh, because of the LA Marathon. Look, don't these look cool? I just like the colors. Like I said, I'm not much of a shoe shopper, but I know what colors I like, and I like these colors. I think they're pretty cool. But I will not be in the I will not be in the marathon anytime soon. I mean, I don't think bears evolved to be endurance hunters the same way that humans did, right? Us bears, we're just opportunists. So whenever we see the yummy yummy ants, we will eat the yummy yummy ants. I mean salmon. I got my winter boots for like $80. They're scamming y'all, I swear to gosh. Oh no. I could have used that on 200 tacos. Dang it. Foiled again. Foiled again on my quest to get 200 tacos. This sucks. But yeah, how you guys doing? How you guys doing? I do want to get started on our style study a little earlier than usual, so we won't do it at the hour mark. We'll probably do it at the 30-minute mark, but I do still want to yap a little bit. I've been, you know, I feel like with my undiagnosed ADHD, but I always have some kind of new hyperfixation of the week, right? I don't know if that I would call this a hyperfixation as much as it's just like I've been thinking a lot about it, but I watched this video by a guy named Eddie Burback, about, well, first of all, I watched the video of his about like AI psychosis. That was crazy. That was kind of scary to watch. Basically he like uses ChatGPT to, I guess, like imitate what it would be like to go through AI psychosis by just like essentially like gaslighting the AI into like thinking that he's like a genius. Oh my gosh, this song. This is the original song from the meme. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Bum 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 bum. Yeah, he was like imitating like what would happen if like someone were to go through AI psychosis, and it was an interesting video. But then I because I watched his video, my algorithm started recommending me more of his videos, and one of them was about like how he basically like sealed away his smartphone for a month. And it was just a very interesting watch because it's now got me like thinking, not sealing my phone away, but just like, I don't know, being less attached to my phone, all in all. It was an interesting video, and I will go over it in a little bit, but let me catch up on chat. Because sitting down in the middle of the night to eat 200 tacos. 1 taco, 2 taco, 3 tacos. Well, because now I'm out $200, I can't do that. But you know what I can have in a kind of ridiculous quantity? American cheese. There we go, perfect.
Slices of American cheese.
Give it to me. Yeah. Yum, 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 yum. Great timing, Matthew. Perfect timing. I've seen that one, I think. Mr. Sandman, me and in a sand, make him the cutest man corridor cat. Mr. Sandman. Man me a sand. Wait, what? Did that song always have that yes? It sounded like Vesper for a second, right? I thought like a soundbite was playing when I didn't intend for it to play. Mr. Sandman. Man me a sand. Make him the cutest man. Car door hook hand. Bum 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 bum. It always had it. I've only listened to the first part of the song. I'm gonna be so honest with you. I don't think I've ever listened to the song in full, unless it's like part of the Fallout, any Fallout OST. I have not listened to very many 1950s songs. Actually, is it even 1950s Fallout? Is that more like 40s or 60s? Well, it's based off like the fear of the atomic age, right? Or like the atom bomb, right? So I guess, yeah, like 50s would be like the start of that, right? Blind Guardian has a fun cover of it. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, why is this one so much louder? It's a little louder. Oh, I know this song. This is the Fever! Isn't this one like in The Simpsons? Where Miss Krabappel had like a costume of just like balloons, and it was like she looked like a grape, like grapes, and she was like popping all the balloons, and Bart was like, "Please kill me." Let's see. Oh yeah, so I forgot about animation on this on our art style study. We can research it on the fly. But let's do some daily. Well, we're not gonna do time guesser. We're gonna save that for the end. But we'll do food guesser. Trumapoline, Trumopoline. He said what now? It smells. Wait, what was it that like Milhouse says in that episode? He's like, it smells like old people in there. No, it doesn't. Trumapoline, Trumopoline. Oh, is that a chicken? It's a whole chicken. Soy sauce, sugar, salt, ginger, scallion, star anise, cinnamon, cloves, fennel seeds, Sichuan peppercorns, cooking wine, garlic, bay leaves. There's something about the fact that it says specifically Sichuan peppercorns that makes me think this is probably Sichuan, China. Right? Right? Yeah, there you go. See, that was kind of a bit of a giveaway there. Dezhou braised chicken. Traditional Chinese dish originating from Dezhou, Shandong province, known as Dezhou Paji. This dish has a history dating back to the Qing dynasty. Nice. It is said to have been created by an individual named Han Shigong about 300 years ago. Ooh, yummy chicken. Alright, next up. Oh, what is that? Oh, mutton. Oh, it's just mutton and salt? Okay. Okay. This is a traditional delicacy made from mutton or lamb, which is air-dried and fermented over several months. The meat develops a distinctive flavor profile of rich, tangy, and slightly gamey taste. I feel like, is it stereotypical of me to assume, like, Ireland or something? Let's try Ireland. Oh, we're warm. It doesn't say border, so it's not the UK. So warm to the northeast. So maybe Norway, Denmark? Oh, the Nordic countries again? It's always the Nordic countries, right? But I guess, yeah, if it's like fermented, that would kind of make sense for like a really cold place, right? Like when I think of fermented like meat, I think of like Inuit fermented whale, right? But it's also because I follow like an Inuit, I guess, social media person on the Instagram. And we'll talk about social media in a bit too. So let's do Norway. Fever when you hold me tight. Skerpikyet. Skerpikyet. Hot to the south. Let's do Denmark. There we go. It's Danish. Oh, it's Faroese. Okay. Skerpikyet is a traditional Faroese food consisting of wind-dried mutton. The dish is a staple in the Faroe Islands. Oh, wait, where is that? Where are the Faroese Islands? There's this corn, flour, water, sugar, millet, flour, lemon juice, yogurt, sweetened ooh, I love condensed milk, vanilla extract. This is a refreshing yogurt-like beverage made from fermented maize, sometimes blended with a bit of cassava. Oh, cassava makes me think Americas. Same with maize, right? But where does cassava actually come from? I know that it's like from the Americas, but I actually don't know like specifically where. Is it like a South American thing? Well, let's try South America first. Let's try Peru. Ice cold. Oh no. Oh, maybe Africa? I thought I heard for sure that cassava was from the Americas though, but let's try. You mean yucca? Oh, maybe it is yucca. Cause cassava, like, you can make cassava cake from, or like you can make cassava cake and that's like a Filipino thing. And I just assumed we got it from the Americas. But now you got me second guessing. I know yucca is from the Americas, right? Okay. So let's try Nigeria. Oh, it borders Nigeria to the west. Alright, let's do some searching here. Benin and Togo. Benin? There you go. Benin and Togo. Akpan. It's a traditional fermented beverage commonly found in Togo and Benin, West Africa, primarily made from corn and occasionally combined with millet or sorghum. Ah, okay. We didn't do too bad this time around. We did not do too bad. Let's post that score. Paste. There we go. Cassava and yuca are the same thing. Oh, I didn't know that part. I didn't know that part. But I am familiar with yuca. Yeah, yuca. And then cassava, of course, because that's like a Filipino like ingredient in one of the cakes. Hello, Kayla. Gayla. Hello. So yeah, we have our... Oh yeah, so we have our style study, but there is one thing I wanted to yap about today. On my shoulders. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about earlier about like the video of what was his first name again? I know his last name is Burback. Eddie Burback. I can even try to find that video for you guys. Because basically it was a video about him putting his smartphone away in a safe for about a month. Let's see, Eddie Burback. I'll show you his channel if you want to check it out for yourself. So the first like video of his that I saw is this one. ChatGPT made me delusional, and it's about him like trying to see like what is this phenomenon of like AI psychosis without actually like going through it. He just kind of simulated what it would be like to go through it, but he essentially like gaslit ChatGPT to make it believe that he was this genius child or genius baby, and he did it like in the stupidest way. It was like he drew a picture of an iPhone 16 and then like gave it to ChatGPT and was like, "Oh, I drew this when I was like a year old." Back in like the year 2000, or I actually don't know how old he is, but and of course because it's an AI, like it believed him and was like, "Oh my gosh, you were a genius," you know. But then the AI started saying things like, "Oh, you should if people don't believe you should isolate yourself. In fact, here are some locations that you can go to in order to isolate yourself." And it kind of just because of the way that ChatGPT is with like it's very focused on affirming what the person is typing in. It was just doing that, you know. It was just doing a lot of affirmation. And excuse me, let me clear my throat for a sec. Sorry, I ate dinner before I started streaming, and my throat always gets a little phlegmy when that happens. But yeah, so he did that. And yeah, like ChatGPT is usually very affirming of like whatever you type into it. So even if it's something that is like objectively bad, it's like, "Oh, hey, should I mix you know, ammonia? Should I make mustard gas?" And like, you know, ChatGPT will just be like, "I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. Here's how you do it." And apparently it's funny because midway through the video, ChatGPT actually updates to like 5.0 or something like that. And it starts like not being as affirming as I was before. In fact, it starts recommending him like psychiatry like like tips and stuff. So like it's funny that like I guess now they are trying to limit how affirming ChatGPT is. But if you have a subscription to ChatGPT, you could just revert it back to like 4.0 or whatever he was using before, and it would go back to being like, "Yeah, I agree that you should be isolating yourself." So that you can channel the genius that you had as a baby, you know? So that was like his first video that I watched. And then I watched the one right next to it called "I Hate My Phone, So I Got Rid of It." And yeah, that one was a little bit less like, I guess conspiratorial and a little bit more just like, it just made a lot of sense. And it got me down this whole rabbit hole of like, oh, maybe I should like stop using my phone so much. I'm gonna fast forward and just say that I'm not going down the path of like, you know, getting rid of my phone, because there are certain things that I kind of sort of like want and need from it. But a quick synopsis of that video, which I definitely recommend to anyone who's interested in this topic, is he locked his phone away. He locked his smartphone away in a safe for a month, and he made it so that like he couldn't open the safe even if he wanted to. I think he like gave it to his partner at the time, or his his partner to like make the combination, and then so he didn't know the combination, so even if he wanted to check his phone, he couldn't, you know. I love the phone video. I will never take the lesson. kind of same, but yeah, like he does it, but he also plans ahead of time of like how he's gonna like talk to people without his phone. Ghosty, hello, you got your sticker. So he tells all of his friends that like, oh, I'm gonna switch to like not using my smartphone, so if you want to contact me, you're gonna have to call my landline. So he gets like a landline phone, right? And he just replaces a lot of the things that we use smartphones for with like, you know, the alternatives that they used to have before. Mega Bronson, hello. So he does all of that for about a month, and then the first couple of weeks are a little bit to adjust to, because, you know, like he's seeing how much of an inconvenience it is to not have your smartphone, right? Like and fun fact, he also lives in Los Pincos, so he even like takes the bus kind of like I do, and one way that you can pay for the bus is you could just use your phone. You could just have your tap card, as we call it. Our like metro fare is like on something called like a tap card, so you could have a physical one, but you would need to go to the train station to get one. They claim that you could get it from any like drugstore, but you really can't. Like you really can't. So he navigates like taking the bus throughout Los Pincos without a smartphone. And it takes a lot of getting used to, but like about 3 weeks in is when he starts really getting used to it, and he finds a lot of the benefits. A lot of the benefits of not having your phone. You got your sticker, Mega Bronson. Such as like his what's it called? Attention span is a lot better. And whenever he's hanging out with friends or loved ones, he's able to like have a more meaningful conversation, or just like spend more meaningful time with them, instead of just like talking a little bit and then like being on your phone, right? So he highlights a lot of these like positives, but he also does like have a little disclaimer of like, look, I don't have a normal job. My job is like YouTube, so I don't have to, you know, like I don't need my phone for work. I'm not in school, so I don't need like certain apps or anything like that. So he does have that that disclaimer, because I think he's well aware that like this lifestyle won't work for everybody, but it just so happened to work for him. But he did also make a lot of fair points of just like, not having your phone and not doom scrolling all day has like nothing but positive effects, really. I always prefer physical bus passes, because what if my phone dies when I'm trying to get home? Yeah, that's always a big concern, right? For me, it's like kind of minor, and I actually solved it relatively recently, but I always had this thing where like, I'll just say this, in Japan, if you have like your bus pass or your train pass or your rail pass on your phone, you don't need to turn your like phone screen on. You could just put the phone over the like bus pass reader, right? So you don't need to turn your phone on. And then it took a while for Los Pincos to catch up to that, and I didn't realize that we had reached that point, because nowadays I could just point my phone to like the little reader and it reads my tap card. But for a while, you had to turn on your phone screen and then like, you know, navigate to where the card is, and so that it can like beep properly. And like I just had a lot of anxiety with like oh god, like the bus is approaching. All right, I better turn it on right now. But if I turn it on too early, sometimes it won't read the card. So like it was always this like timing guessing game of like, all right, when do I load it up, you know? Aside from 2 apps, I only use my phone for calling, receiving calls, and texting people. I use like a lot more of my apps, but this video did make me uninstall a whole bunch of things. So I had already by this point uninstalled Instagram and Twitter. I think I've had that uninstalled for like a couple weeks already, and it's been working out fine. So I only use my browser to check those. And I also uninstalled Discord, because realistically, I only use Discord when I'm on my computer anyway, whether it's work or at home. But there's a couple other stuff. Oh, navigation. So because I ride the bus, I do need the navigation. And even though I memorized the route to my office, I do go to different schools all over Los Pincos, and I do need the navigation kind of in real time for that, because there are some buses, unfortunately, in Los Pincos where like if you miss it, you're waiting for 45 minutes unless you have an alternate route. So I kind of do need that navigation. music, you know, like you could easily I think we were talking about this before, that like you could just get like an MP3 player or something, but I'm still at this point still used to using Spotify. And then another thing I've been doing lately is I've been listening to audiobooks. I've been listening to Kumo Desu, which is So I'm a Spider, So What? It's one of my favorite isekai series. So I've been listening to that. I've actually been listening to it for a couple of years already, but I kind of fell off around last year and I kind of got back on this year. So I'm finally on like volume 10, I think, out of 16. So I still use my phone for quite a couple of things, and then like I have a lot of group chats with my coworkers. Trying to think of what else. I am also using an app to learn Russian. I've been like thinking like back and forth on whether I should still have the app or if I should just use a book to learn it, kind of like what I'm doing with Japanese. But I kind of like hearing the I guess vocal samples, because one thing with Russian is that like the vowels will be spelled a certain way, but it'll be pronounced a different way, and I don't have enough practice listening to it to know when to shift the vowel. But yeah, like there's still like a healthy amount of apps that I do use, which is why like I don't know if I'm gonna make the jump to a dumb phone anytime soon. Because after I watched this video, I started getting more, because of the algorithm. Like I started getting more videos on like, you know, how to get like a dumb phone, or how to get used to having a dumb phone instead of a smartphone, right? So but I do kind of like the video because it does go through realistically a lot of like the pros and the cons. And he says that like one big thing is that in today's world, it is inconvenient to navigate the world without a smartphone. But sometimes the inconvenience is a good thing, because it kind of challenges your brain to think ahead and to think creatively. So like if you don't have live navigation on your phone, then instead you plan ahead. You print out some directions on MapQuest. If you miss your turn while following those directions, then you just have to like navigate as best as you can, right? So it was and there was also just this phenomena of being bored. Like I feel like with the advent of smartphones and short form content and TikTok and social media, we've lost this idea of like it's okay to be bored, and in fact being bored is what leads to people being creative with their time, you know. So Arkumith, hello. I've been rambling about whether or not I want to have a smartphone anymore or not, but let me catch up on chat right now. My phone has all of the funny voices in my head that keep me from throttling the loud people on the bus, you know, the VTubers. The biggest takeaway from that video is Rolodexes are cool. Yeah, I've been thinking like I don't actually know. Oh, Dokkyun, start running your way. Bakkyun, hearts racing with you. Yeah, I've been like thinking about, because like I said, me and Beans were watching Mad Men a couple months back, and like, you know, whenever they talk about their contacts and their connections, they always like have their Rolodex ready. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if I actually know any of my friends' numbers by heart. The only numbers that I know by heart are like Beans' number, my own number, and like my childhood home number from like 30 years ago. Because like my step grandpa was the one who like his voice was on the answering machine, so I always remember like the exact cadence of how he said the numbers and everything. And then it was like, okay, leave a message for us, beep. But yeah, I remember Rolodexes. I had an address book in middle school, and I would tell my friends to fill it out for me. I remember those were the days of like, you know, oh, give me your home phone number, you know. Let's go audiobooks. I've been going on my libraries app and devouring every single fantasy horror series I can get my grubby hands on. I've low-key been wanting to get into some medieval horror books, but I've also been wanting to finish the books that I have right now before I try to like read new ones. So like I still have to finish. I'm almost done with Lost World, and then I'm still reading Apothecary Diaries, but once I'm done with that, I might want to check out some medieval horror. Well, let's see. I like sitting in waiting areas as I imagine scenes in the area. Yeah, right? Exactly. And then you listen to people and learn how people talk. Ooh, hide your address book. Sign my address book, Ghosty. Sign my address book. But yeah, so yeah, I might have to put the phones away in terms of the redeem, right? I might have to put, well, no, the redeem will still be there. On a completely unrelated note, I've been thinking of another redeem. I'm not going to spoil exactly what it is, but just know that it is classroom related and it would make use of whatever you type in. Kind of similar to like making Mr. Pancake's talk, but it'd be a little different. So no spoilers here, but I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about how I'm going to pull it off. But yeah, so like basically that's been like what this video is all about. It's been making me
64
4 slices of American cheese. Yum, 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 yum. Yummy. So much cheese. Yeah, that's what's been on my mind other than cheese. Is just, should I dumb down my phone? I think for now I'm just gonna like keep my phone, but I've uninstalled a whole bunch of social media apps so I don't scroll anymore. I've stopped taking my phone with me to the bathroom when it's time to for nature's call. I've just been sitting there. I just love sulfuric acid. I just be sitting there as nature intended. Maybe a little too TMI, but yeah, I've been trying to wean myself off of like using my phone too much because realistically, I already did this thing. I already don't check my phone that much anyway, but it's mostly because I've turned off notifications for anything that's not work related. And because it bugs me a lot, I turn off the, when you look at an app and in the corner there's like the little red circle that says like, oh, 1 missed message, or I'm the kind of person that hates like, how you're either a person that has like 0 unread messages or 10,872 unread messages. I'm a 0 unread messages kind of person, and like seeing the little number in the corner of the app always like bugs me. So I can't do that. It's to the point where like I actually space out some time in the workday to clear out my emails. It's actually like I try to keep it very clean. So and whenever there's like the little like notification, I try to like look at it at all times, but I turned it off for a lot of social media apps. So I turned it off for Discord, I turned it off for Twitter and Instagram. And after watching that video, I just uninstalled all of them so that I basically just wait till I'm home or at work to check those things. Have a fun lurk, Ghosty. The danger of hemorrhoids. The gotcha. But yeah, so like I'm trying to wean myself off. We'll see. Maybe one day I will eventually get a dumb phone instead of a smartphone. But I've also been seeing, because now my algorithm is very like, oh, go analog. Get rid of your phone, get a dumb phone. I've also been seeing reaction videos to that in terms of like, if you go too far in that direction, it also becomes just like a consumerist capitalist hellscape of like, instead of this idea of like, oh, just appreciate what you already have on you. It's like, oh, if you want to go analog, you should buy all these things, And I kind of get that. I kind of get like the critique on that. But a part of me also does like this movement towards like going analog, as they say. Clear all messages immediately. Doesn't matter if I actually read them. I can't leave a 1 sitting there. Exactly. But then that makes me like, that does get me into a bit of trouble because I'll clear a message without realizing that I didn't answer it. So sometimes I do make liberal use of the mark messages unread, right? But then like sometimes it'll bug me. Because sometimes like the best time for me to respond is like, it's 12 in the morning and I'm already in bed and I'm just like checking through everything, like all my notifications. And then I see a message and it's like, but I can't contact them at 12 in the morning, especially if they're in like another time zone. So I'll just wait till tomorrow to contact them. Proceeds to not contact them, So yeah, that's been the issue. Get the tissue for your issues, But yeah, that's what's been on my mind lately. I guess last thing I'll say is that like I've also been taking inspiration from 2 of my favorite VTubers, right, are Sklimbo and Randon, and both of them seem to have this like lifestyle and or mentality of like, once the stream is done, like, well, especially Randon, he seems to just go offline, right? Sklimbo less so because he is still very active in his Discord, but like, yeah, it's I don't know, I kind of like that idea of like, all right, I'm just gonna go offline once I'm done streaming. Not completely offline, I still want to like chat with folks, but like I do like the idea of like, I need some time where I'm not looking at a screen. Whether it be big screen or it's small screen, But yeah, with that, let me go ahead and take a sip of water, and I think we're gonna get started on our decade study. So get your comments in while you can. And I'm gonna sippy some water. Now I'm like wondering with this music, like what time period is Fallout? Is it 40s, 50s, or 60s, or is it kind of an amalgamation of all three? I did learn a fair amount about like architecture during this decade study, so I'm excited to share it with you guys. Let me just navigate over to, let's see, Twitch Stream Manager so I can see your guys' comments. But yeah, so my little Figma page, Figma balls, has grown a bit. So remember we started here in the 1920s, right? We went over to the 30s, 40s, and now we're in the 50s. But while I was researching for the 50s, I realized that there's a lot of stuff that I left out when researching the 30s and 40s. And this seems to happen a lot. Once I was done with the 20s and went on to the 30s, I was like, oh, I never like studied Bauhaus. And we kind of did that impromptu research a couple streams ago. I forgot when. But yeah, I think this is the most amount that I've added to a decade I'd already finished. While looking at the 1950s, I ended up adding the Atomic Age and Streamline Moderne to the 30s and 40s. And I'll explain what that is. But I'm pretty proud of like how things are kind of like just ever growing with this project. You know, this started out as just a way for me to get good at time guesser, but it's definitely just helping like in general of just knowing history, at least Western history. Unfortunately, like a lot of this is very Western centric. But I don't know, it's cool because like then you see a lot of connections between like especially like art movements. If I delete Discord off my phone, how will I always be ready to respond to a message no matter what time? Would be rude. It's true, it's true. That's also the mentality I have too of like, what if it's an emergency? But it's also like, how often is it an emergency? And anyway, I'm usually, even if it's not on my phone, I'm usually in front of my computer screen unless I'm sleeping or using the bathroom or eating or going on a hike, you know, or because even at work, I do have a tab open to Discord. I'm not always like locked in on it as much as I am like at home, but like it is there. It is there. Okie dokie. So what was I saying? God, 50s aesthetic, my beloved. The time period was but the aesthetic though, I had the same exact mentality because I've become kind of obsessed with two art like thingies. So this thing called Googie, we'll talk about Googie, and then mid-century modern. I've gotten like kind of obsessed with it. Binka, please, there's a gun to my head. I need to know the time and place of this specific photo. Please, you have to answer within 10 minutes or they're gonna kill me. Meanwhile, I'm just like going on a hike or something. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the 1950s, shall we? Let's talk about the 1950s, and by the end of the stream, we'll hopefully be experts in identifying fashion and art and stuff from the 50s. So, for my fellow Bear Americans, to kind of ground us in a little bit of the time period, we had two U.S. presidents during this decade. We got Truman, and we got Dwight D. Eisenhower, the veteran. Wait, what was he? Was he World War II veteran? I kind of forget, but I just know that he's like one of the presidents that was like famous because he was also a veteran. In terms of current events, this is post World War II, and it's a very prosperous time. And as I was doing the research for this, I was like, dang, no wonder like when I was watching Mad Men, I did feel this like romanticization of the era where it's like, oh man, I wish I could live during a time period where, you know, only one person within a couple needed to work in order to afford a house, you know? But yeah, in terms of like civil rights and stuff, maybe I don't want to live in that time period. I like to imagine when I don't know what people are doing, they're just sitting idle. Whenever people tell me they were out, I'm genuinely surprised. Just twiddling my thumbs, you know? Just do 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 do. That is in fact what I do when I'm not doing nothing else. So yeah, post World War II boom, there was a strong economy, especially in the U.S., low unemployment rates, affordable housing, which led to couples marrying early and the start of the baby boomer generation. There was a lot of optimism because it's the end of the war. You know, the war to end all wars. There were no wars after World War II. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Yeah, because it's not true. But this is also the era where the idea of teenagers started to develop. Which, like, when I read that, I was like, what do you mean? There's always been teenagers. But it's like the idea of teenagers as a separate group from children and adults. Because especially like pre-industrialization, once you get to a certain age, you're an adult because you can work. But now you had this idea of like, oh no, they're like older than children, but they're too young to be working class citizens just yet, you know? Wasn't World War One called the war to end all wars? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. The Great War, even. The war to end all wars. There was never a war after World War One. Not even World War Two. I know it's an unfortunate like naming scheme, right? But yeah, so this is like the first time because this mostly came out of a prosperity, like the post-war prosperity of like, well, now teenagers, people in their teens don't have to worry about working. They can be teenagers. They can focus on like schooling and stuff because like it's so prosperous now. And then because they have their own like I guess grouping, you also started to see like the rise of certain subcultures, and we'll go over that when we go over fashion. But you have greasers, you have jocks, you have the girls in their poodle skirts and everything. If you're familiar with the musical Grease, which I'm pretty familiar because I was an extra in high school, in our high school production of Grease, I was like background bear number 1, you know. I had a little poodle skirt and everything. Those were fun times. But yeah, so this is when teenagers were first beginning to be a thing. This was, however, even though there are no more wars after World War II, the Cold War was happening. But yeah, like if you're not familiar with the Cold War, there wasn't any direct fighting between the two main people of the Cold War, which is the US and Russia. However, they did fight through proxy wars, especially in Korea and Vietnam. And then there was also just a lot of ideological wars, but also like a lot of paranoia about like, oh, who is spying from either side? Who is an American spy? Who is a Russian spy? Things like that. That paranoia would eventually lead to something called McCarthyism, which was this like general like discrimination against people who were or suspected to be communists. So if you had any kind of like idealization, or like if you were talking about stuff that sounded remotely communist, maybe even a smidge socialist, the Red Menace, right? Then you could be discriminated against, sometimes violently and sometimes in a deadly, fatal manner. So imagine going back to the time period and people being like, what do you mean World War One? Why is it numbered? I think Doctor Who did that. I want to say Doctor Who did that, where like someone said like, oh my god, it's during World War One, and then the person fighting in the war is like, what do you mean World War One? Or it's like imagine a time traveler were to come to like the year 2026 and they're like, is this before or after the zombie invasion? It's like, before? I mean, any amount of bears in the background can be distracting. There were a bit more bears in the 1950s. Just a little fun fact. You can't see it, but there's plenty of bears if you have the eyes to look. Like imagine, imagine I like zoom in on a picture and it's like actually, if you zoom in on, you see that little collection of pixels there? That's actually a bear. And it's funny because this is actually a youth culture called the Teddy Boys. So imagine a bear behind a bunch of high school kid actors. Hey, I had a cute poodle skirt. I think I blended in pretty well. The Red Scare. Is this the first or second pandemic? Oh my gosh. The fear in my eyes if I were to hear that. Proxy wars are so deranged. What do you mean you're effing over two completely unrelated countries because you don't want to fight your own battles? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, so the Cold War was like becoming a thing during this time, and then there was also the beginning of, well, civil rights have always been kind of like a struggle, an ongoing struggle throughout just the inception of the United States, or the inception of any country, period. But in terms of civil rights news, this is the era of Brown versus the Board of Education. So this is the struggle to end racial segregation in schools, the struggle to end the idea of separate but equal, because separate is inherently unequal. There's also the time period of Rosa Parks doing her thing. And then you also see a lot of countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America having revolutions and decolonizing themselves. I think in South and Central America, their revolutions were a little bit earlier, but like Africa and Asia were definitely starting to trying to decolonize after this point. Late 50s, you saw the beginning of the space race. This is kind of an extension of the Cold War, where Russia and America were now competing to be the first people in space. So Russia was the first to be in space with the launch of Sputnik, but America was the first to land on the moon with Neil Armstrong and I unfortunately forgot the name of the other astronauts. I feel so bad. Shiopi, hello. We're talking about the 1950s. This sounds like a song that I would hear in Fallout, right? I see petticoats and skirts. I come running. Yeah, I do like the style. Doing the research for this, there were so many styles and aesthetics I ended up really falling in love with, including Googie. I can't wait to talk about Googie because it's from Los Vincos. I was doing the research and I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that car wash. I recognize that Norms. I recognize that airport thing that no one uses anymore. So, you have the Cold War, and then an extension of that is the space race. But on lighter-hearted news, you also saw the golden age of TV, because during this time, television sets became more widespread in households. They're still black and white at this time, and we are starting to get into decades where like loved ones of ours, and eventually ourselves, will start like experiencing some of these things. And both my parents were born in the 60s, so they would have more to talk about with like the late 60s, 70s, 80s. But I remember my dad telling me about how he had an old television set that was only black and white for a time, before they eventually got like a color TV. But I remember as a kid, I didn't quite understand that like you had to have a different set of hardware to get color TV. I don't know why I thought that it was just like, all right, everyone, all of your television sets will now be color. And it's just like, you know, in a snap, all TVs were color. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure you have to get like a new TV that supports color television, you know? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was like that. But let's see, TV shows of the time, I Love Lucy, Ed Sullivan Show, and Leave It to Beaver. I only watch I Love Lucy, and when I was a kid, I actually loved I Love Lucy. I actually love Lucy. No, but that was actually like a childhood favorite alongside like The Simpsons, King of the Hill. Like when I was barely old enough to like have memories, you know, like I remember my mom putting on like I Love Lucy, and I don't know, that was just something that I remember watching the episodes where she was like visibly pregnant, you know, and not thinking that it was a big deal. But apparently for the time, that was like a huge deal. For one, it was like a big deal that she was on screen pregnant, but then there was another thing that she was like wearing pants. And then it was another big deal that like her and Ricky were like, I think they were in separate beds, right? Like they could be shown sharing a bedroom, but not sharing a bed. That was too controversial for the time, right? Even the idea of her being shown pregnant, or even saying the word pregnant, was like a big deal in the day. My grandma used to own this porcelain doll of Lucy. I remember. Nice. Yeah, I adore I Love Lucy so much. Lucy! I'm home. And then I found out later on that the actors for Ethel and Fred freaking hated each other. That was so sad. That's so sad to hear, you know? Wait, are my frames Going to. Oh no, my frames are dropping. I had no idea. Has it been that way for a bit? I had no idea. Oh, my connection is still pretty crappy right now. Let me see. Hopefully it's like a temporary thing. As someone who was around at the time, I can confirm they just released a patch note to allow color television. Oh, nice. I wish. Oh wait, you know what? I have a way to emulate that. While we're waiting for the frame rate to get better, I'll add something right now to play around. Color source. Okay, set color. Can I change the blending method? Blending mode. Oh, I can't. I thought I'd be able to like make myself black and white. I thought I was gonna be able to change like the saturation. Can I? What happens if I put this on subtract? Oh! It's not what I wanted. What add? Oh no! I'm blinding you guys. I'm blinding you guys. We have an ad break coming up. I'm gonna try and figure out the drop frame situation right now. My eyes! Okay, at least that means that there's not too much of a delay. I think it's just like crappy quality, right? Ads? Yeah, there are ads coming up. So let me... Oh, I'm floating. There we go. Alright, gonna try to figure out the dropped frames during the ad break. Apologies for any delays. Petition for horror being good to stay. There we go. We'll pin that for now. Okay, I'm gonna do an early ad break right now, and I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Hopefully by then the ad break will be finished and the dropped frames will also be not a thing. Alright, so it looks like there's like a little bit of a delay because I have like Twitch Stream Manager also. Alright, that seemed like it's probably what, like a 15-second delay, but as long as you guys can hear me, that's fine. I'm still getting drop frames. It's unfortunate, and Beans is currently on the case investigating, but as long as you guys can hear me and I'm not stuttering too much, we can keep on keeping on, right? We can keep on keeping on. If you drop them, just pick them back up. That's true, I could just pick up the frames, right? Yeah, let me know if like I start stuttering or anything like that, but otherwise let's keep on talking about the 1950s, shall we? Oh yeah, so we were talking about TV shows of the time, so I Love Lucy, Ed Sullivan, which I never watched, but I do know that, like, you know, I'm a big fan of Michael Jackson. I know that he got his big break on the Ed Sullivan Show alongside his brothers, the Jackson 5, you know, or the rest of the Jackson 5. It seems like a lot of like famous folks appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, got their big breaks by showing up on the Ed Sullivan Show. Yeah, I don't know anything else about like any other TV shows from this time, like I said, other than I Love Lucy. But there were also popular actors of the time like James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, Marlon Brando, Audrey Hepburn, John Wayne, Elizabeth Taylor. You might be familiar with them if you watched like older films, but a lot of them are also going to pop up again when we talk about fashion of the time, because James Dean and Marlon Brando kind of popularized the idea of like casual wear as like a socially acceptable thing to have, especially with like men's fashion. And then fashion-wise also you had like Audrey Hepburn and Elizabeth Taylor also influencing a lot of styles too. So, fashion, you say? Yeah, we could talk about fashion. And then, like I said before, with the rise of teenagers being like a subculture to pay attention to, did the Ultimate Fashion History serve you well? Yes, I love the narrator. I know you said that she unfortunately passed not too long ago, but like, I love how much energy she puts into all of her, like, I guess lectures and stuff, if that makes sense. I like the part where she shows like the makeup trends of the time. And she uses just like a blank kind of like person's face and then kind of like adds the makeup of the time to really show like, oh, this is like 1950s makeup fashion of the time. Casual wear as opposed to competitive. No, as opposed to like formal, you know? That would be funny though. I think that's like can you imagine being in like ancient Rome and it's like, what do you mean we're not going to wear competitive wear anymore? But yeah, like, because before this, a lot of like, especially men's fashion would be suits, right? But now it was socially acceptable to just have like an unbuttoned shirt, you know? And then the 1950s, I was surprised to learn this. This is from like the Wikipedia article, but the 1950s also marked the start of a lot of fast food chains that still exist today, such as Mickey D's, McDonald's, Burger King, IHOP, Pizza Hut, and Denny's. All of this came about during the 1950s. Competitive wear, uniforms, that too. Some notable aesthetics that we're going to go into in a little bit is the post-war prosperity and the rise of youth culture kind of like influenced it, but also we're going to talk about mid-century modern and googie, as well as the golden age of Hollywood. But before that, you know, as an art history person, I do like to go into the art movements of the time. This time, during the 1940s, we did talk about, here we go, abstract expressionism. This got its start in the 1940s, but it would continue into the 1950s. So we talked a little bit about like, for those who need a bit of a refresher, abstract expressionism was this art movement that focused more on like abstraction rather than trying to resemble anything from real life. And at times there was a focus more on the action and act of painting or making art rather than the end result. So you see this a lot with Jackson Pollock. His paintings aren't meant to show something from like nature or real life. It's to show his whole process with painting, and that is like the drip paintings, right? It might have started out with like looking like something figurative, like for example the art of Janet Sobel. You can see that it was trying to resemble something, you know, from nature or from her imagination, but then it became more and more abstracted. So that was like kind of the focus of one school of abstract expressionism. Good evening, church. And then you also had color fields. So this is the art of like Mark Rothko, Clifford Still, and Barnett Newman. So these ones were more so supposed to be a little bit more introspective because of just how rich and deep the colors were. And I think I said last time too that like personally, this style of art isn't really my cup of tea. I think out of like all the artists I mentioned, I like the art of Janet Sobel the most because of like the way that she uses color and the way that she just incorporates like her designs. But like I still appreciate it as an art form. Like these still count as art as much as others would like to deny that, but it's just not my cup of tea. So unsurprisingly, a lot of these artists would continue into the 1950s, or at least get their start in the 1950s as well. So we have more Mark Rothko stuff over here. Like I said, it's a little easier to appreciate these in person because you get to see how rich the color is. But when you just have like PNGs of it, it does mostly have that idea of like, well, what is it, just color? You know? Wish I was rich and deep. You're plenty derp. Beetle, hello. But then you also see the work of, I'm trying to remember who this was. I want to say this is Klein or Brooks. I think this is Klein. I put 3 works of his up here. Testosterone, hello. We're talking about the 1950s, and we're now focusing on the art movements of the 1950s, but going off of like what came out of the 1940s first. So abstract expressionism. These are 3 works by, like I said, I want to say this is Franz Klein. This is some of his later work, but this is his earlier work. And I included this because I wanted to show what his inspiration was. And it was actually things like industrial landscapes. But eventually he would abstract this and simplify more and more and more and more to the point where it got like this. So they look like just random lines, right? But they're actually like deep abstractions. Or I say deep, but like it's just so abstracted that it no longer really resembles what it was based off of. So that's like another part of like abstract expressionism. I think James Brooks. I want to say this is either James Brooks. This is either James Brooks and this is Franz Klein, or vice versa. I just unfortunately forgot since then. This style of art I vibe with a little bit more, mostly because I'm totally like a color girly, right? And these color palettes, I just find them a little bit more appealing compared to the other ones that we were looking at. And then we have another artist who specializes in color fields. This is, I think this is Still. Either Clifford Still or, no, not Barnett Newman. I think this is Newman's art, and then this is Clifford Still, I want to say. But yeah, so abstract expressionism was still continuing to be a thing. But starting in the 1950s, you saw the rise of another art movement called pop art. And what's cool is a lot of the art movements we've been talking about in the past is always a reaction to what came before it. So, for example, social realism, when did we talk about that? Social realism and regionalism from the 1930s was a reaction against like abstraction, like this kind of art that you would see in the 1920s. And then the 1940s saw a reaction against the social realism. So, why is my hand waving like that? So pop art became kind of a reaction against abstract expressionism. So everything is a reaction to everything is a reaction to everything. And I just think that's really cool. Let me check on my frames again. It still looks like it's pretty low, but I also have Beans is also playing my stream on another screen, and I'm seeing how bad the delay is, and it doesn't look that bad. So this is pop art. This is the beginning of pop art. Usually when people think about pop art, they think about the art of Andy Warhol with his like soup cans and like the celebrities like Marilyn Monroe and like the fancy colors. But that actually wouldn't come about till the 1960s. So you'll notice that I didn't put any of Andy Warhol's art up here because pop art was still kind of like setting up. He was still kind of getting, or not he, but like pop art as a movement was still kind of getting into the swing of things. But what is pop art? If you are completely unfamiliar with Andy Warhol and like the idea of pop art, here's a little bit of a summary. So, like I mentioned, television was starting to become like something that you would see in more households. So, because of the rise of television and because like it was starting to become a thing in popular culture, artists were wanting to kind of integrate pop culture with art. They wanted to blur the lines of high art and mass culture. Oh no, I'm seeing the delays. Okay. And then it was, like I said here, a reaction to and an offshoot of abstract expressionism. But it utilized recognizable popular imagery. What that means is, like, there were folks that were looking at this kind of artwork and they were like, no, art, like, can't just be abstract. It needs something familiar for us to ground it in. It needs to have something that we can kind of, like, latch onto. It needs to have something familiar. And what is more familiar than pop culture? So pop art was kind of like a reaction to that. It was like, okay, I'm gonna put something familiar so that you can kind of ground yourself in it. But what was cool about this movement too is that a lot of pop artists were trying to, how do I say this? Why don't I just read my notes? It was trying to use these popular icons to kind of like comment on it, to have like commentary on it. Let me read my notes here. Popular imagery and mass-produced materials in order to critique it, to critique this idea of like mass production. It also features a lot of, oh, I have a typo here. A lot of bold colors and repetition. And actually, a lot of people think that this is a very American art movement, but it actually started in the UK with, what was this guy's name? Robert Hamilton and Eduardo Paolozzi. They incorporated a lot of pop art and pop culture into these like collages. But then a bunch of the critics didn't really like it because they felt it was a little too kitsch, a little too consumerist. But then the art movement came to the US and it blew up, which is kind of not that surprising if you consider it's the US. Like, US was built on consumerism and all these things, right? So that's when you started to see art from artists like Rob Rauschenberg. I believe, I want to say this is his. No, I think this is Paolozzi. This is the art of Paolozzi. This is the collage work of Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, just you wait. And I think this is the artwork of Rob Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns. And what I didn't know about Rob Rauschenberg and Jasper Johns is that they were in a relationship. I don't know why, like, I found that out and I was like, oh my gosh, modern art yaoi, right? Like, because, like, I was familiar with both artists, I just didn't know that they were a couple, you know? Would you say that most movements are negative reactions to previous, i.e. that's not right, I can do better? I'm familiar with the shift from Baroque to Rococo as something similar. Actually, yeah, like, not always negative, though that is one way to think of it. A lot of reactions are more so like, I don't like this, so I'm going to do the opposite of it. But there are sometimes where it is like the previous art movement also informs and inspires the preceding art movement. So for example, even though pop art is a reaction against abstract expressionism, it still uses a lot of these bold colors, you know? You do see a lot of bold colors like here with the, so they're kind of taking both the positive and the negative of what came before and what they're reacting to. So for example, they might have really liked the rich coloration of like Martha Rothko's works, but then they wanted to instill it with a little bit of familiarity. So that's why I included this piece by Jasper Johns, because it does feel like it's kind of abstract expressionism, but the big difference is that like, it feels even like a little bit like Jackson Pollock too, where like it feels like you see his process of how he painted this. It does kind of look like the paint splatter, or like he was kind of like slamming paint onto the canvas, but he's still trying to ground it to familiarity by putting these labels on it. So red, orange, white, stuff like that. So it does feel like he is inspired by the abstract expressionist, but is like still instilling his own philosophy in it. But that's a great question to Saucerdile. I do feel like that is what a lot of art movements are, is that like, while it might be like I could do this better, it's also like, but I'm also gonna incorporate what I see in this. Stamp Hamilton reference off the Binka Bingo. Stamp's Yaoi reference off the Binka Bingo. We do need the bingo card. I know I made one and then I never like gave it to you guys, but we do need the Binka Bingo. But yeah, so that is a little bit of pop art. And like I said, we're not going to see some of the more well-known figures of pop art until the 60s. So your Andy Warhols and your Lichtensteins. Lichtenstein is the guy that's known for like the comic book style paintings. So that is going to be more so in the 60s. But for now, here's what we have in the 50s. So far we went over the continuation of abstract expressionism. We have pop art. And then we have this aesthetic, mid-century modern. And this is a really cool one because it actually isn't just limited to the 50s. Bingo! I kind of love that. Mid-century modern is also a term that you're seeing a lot nowadays. And it's funny because that's Switzerland's sister. You're so right, though. You're so right. Stamps, we do need the Binka Bingo off the Binka Bingo card. Oh my gosh. My goat Helvetica? Yeah. Where did I put it? Here. The graphic design. We can go to the graphic design and then we'll go to mid-century modern. So the graphic design of the era, there was a little bit of a rise of minimalism here. Pexcool, hello, hello. We're talking about the 50s today. So there's a bit of minimalism. We're also going to see this with mid-century modern, with an emphasis on clarity and a reaction against unnecessary ornamentation. So you see a lot of bright pastel colors for the illustrations of happy families. Oh yeah, because of pop art, you also started to see the incorporation of pop culture. I don't think I have any examples here, unfortunately, but just take my word for it. You do see some brush script typography. What that means is this kind of like font where it kind of looks like it was like made with a brush, right? Europe was exploring minimalist and modernist design, so you would see more so stuff like this. And then Helvetica, this font that a lot of us might be familiar with, got its start in the 1950s. And then we have some prominent designers, but unfortunately I don't know too much about graphic design history, so these names don't mean much to me, but I'm sure if you're a graphic designer, it's probably like, oh man, I recognize Sipe Pinelles and Josef Müller-Brockmann and Alvin Lustig. But here are some examples. Ultimately, like, graphic design is kind of where I'm the weakest with like the 1950s history. But we are going to see this idea of grid systems come in later on as well. But just know this, like, this use of like really vibrant colors is going to come into play when we explore mid-century modern. Well, let me take a sip of water. Let me get some Wawa. Let me hydrate before I dihydrate. Oh, I needed that. I so needed that. Good morning, George. We slept the whole night through. Good morning, good morning. A lot of these songs are like, I've heard it in like old Tom and Jerry cartoons, right? Or like sometimes with like the Merry Melodies Bugs Bunny stuff. But it's only now that I'm realizing like, oh my gosh, that's where this song is from. The 1950s. But okay, let's talk about mid-century modern. So every time I do these decade studies, there's always a new facet of the decade that I start adding. Because like, I think when I did the 1920s one, Seishun, hello. Hello, hello. I think I just focused on like the art movements. Why does my hand keep doing? Look at my cursor. It's a hand. It's waving now. Wait, if I do this, does it just keep on waving? Hello. Hello. Okay, very cute. I think with the 1920s, I just focus on art movements and fashion. And then with the 1930s, I added like graphic design into it. And then I think I switched like from fashion as a whole to men and women's fashion. And then with the 40s, I added something. I think I added like animation. And then with the 50s, I added architecture. Because I'm actually pretty weak with architecture that's not Gothic. But this had me like pretty inspired, I want to say. It was pretty cool learning about mid-century modern. And it makes me want to learn a little bit more about architecture as a whole. But let's talk about what mid-century modern is. So it's a style that's not just architecture, but it's also interior design and art that, what did I write here? Rejects ornate details and instead emphasizes clean lines, geometric shapes, and bold colors. So here are some examples of that. You got some like bold colors here. You got simple shapes here. And I think that, oh my god, I know this song too. Lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop. Not fashion. Design-wise, like furniture design-wise, excuse me, there was a shift over to materials like plywood, plexiglass, and plastic. And usually, like I said, I'm not really big into like interior design or like materiality as much. But so I was wondering like why, like when I was watching this video that was like telling me about mid-century modern, I was like, oh, why is there this emphasis on like the materials? And it's because these three materials are all flexible materials as opposed to like stone or concrete or harder wood, right? Plywood, plexiglass, and plastic are all flexible. So that means that it can actually lend itself pretty well to like more experimental furniture design. Material girl! So you have these like unique shapes that you wouldn't really see before. And they were able to be a little bit more experimental. Whereas like if you tried to make this out of stone, you know, there's going to be some difficulty with like carving a stone chair that looks like this. It's not impossible, but it's just, it doesn't always like make sense for the material, right? I love your passion for education and learning. It's literally infectious. Thank you. It like actually is just so exciting to both research and then like present on everything, because it's like, oh, I got really into this and I want you to also be into this. Especially when we get to Googie. I can't wait till we get to Googie. What did I put here? Underlying structure is minimal and modular. That's what this video said. Layouts built with blocks of color, strong type, and intentional white space. However, it's also more playful. So when you think of minimalism nowadays, you might just be thinking of like look, I'm about to design something right now. Minimalism. It's so minimal that I forgot all the letters in it too. Here, white background. No, actually, you know what? If we really want to be minimalist, there we go. I feel like our modern kind of like idea of minimalism nowadays is like this. Text here. Like this is like the modern idea of like minimalism is like white, black on white, stark black on stark white, lots of empty white space, right? And then maybe you have like one little bit of like accent, which is going to be that red wavy line, right? This seems to be like the 2010s idea of like minimalism. If we're feeling really adventurous, instead of, oh, didn't mean to do that. Maybe we'll have a gray instead of a white, right? But this is like 2010s of minimalism. This is 1950s minimalism. And I know it doesn't quite look like minimalism, but for its time, this was like very minimalist. Babinka Bear font is just BB, same font as chat, just bold. Exactly. So this was minimalism, but they had a little bit of playfulness in it because they would have these like vibrant colors. Yeah, exactly. Testosterone off-white, really pushing the envelope there. We're really feeling pretty ambitious, right? But here, like, this one isn't as much minimalist, but this would probably be minimalist for the time. You know, like you have a reduced color palette, you have very like easy to read geometric shapes, but it's still readable as like, oh, this is a vinyl record and this is a hand with the vinyl record, right? But they, like I said, they had a little bit of playfulness. Like they would accent it with some kind of shape. Like the starburst was very popular during the time. This like asterisk, a little sunburst here. These like boomerang shapes were often used as like accents. You see this a lot with when we talk about Googie, the Las Vegas sign, right? You have a little, like, this is relatively minimalist, but then there's like a little bit of flair. Like you have the starburst here. You have like this like pretty like regular font for the welcome, but it's framed by like these little circles. You know, and interestingly, I always associate this style with UPA inspired cartoons. Yeah, Dexter's Lab, PPG, Teenage Robot. I was thinking about that too. Of like, this feels very like Genndy Tarkovsky, right? Or UPA style, as you said. Same vibe as white people saying salt is spicy. Oh, is there ketchup in this hot dog? It's a little spicy for my tastes. Vegas makes me think of him. Aw. I know he's moving around right now, huh? Welcome to Vegas sign that you ironically now have to go out of your way to get to. I know, right? And there's gonna be like a knockoff Elvis there that's gonna photobomb your picture and be like, all right, that'll be $20. Oh. And this is another thing with like mid-century modern that has me pretty interested, is that like there is like underlying grids to everything. There's like a little bit of organization to the design, but like I said, they accented with little things like this little sunburst over here, or with like a color. Like overall, you'll have like muted colors, but then there'll be like a pop of color to kind of balance it out. I don't think this is the example they gave, but it's like this seems very disorganized and maximalist, but there is a grid structure underneath it that makes it make sense. What else? What else? I'm trying to find... Oh yeah, that's why I was mentioning this. Like, the grid system that you see in the graphic design also translates into, like, the aesthetic of the time. Where, like, for example, I want to say this one. Like, it seems kind of random, but there is, like, kind of a pattern to it. Like, you know, you put your text here in, like, the empty spaces. There is kind of, like, a grid to where things start. Like, the start of this, like, I don't know what this is. This pod is kind of at the midpoint of this pod. And stuff like that. So there is an underlying grid. So that even though there is, like, a little bit of whimsy and playfulness to it, it's still pretty organized as well. One of my favorite eras of art, for real, for real. What does maximalist mean? It's a character in the Fallout show. No, it's like the opposite of minimalism. It's maximalism. Maximalism is that it's it kind of this feels also like a little bit of like, if this is 50s minimalism, this is also kind of 50s maximalism, where like you just kind of throw everything at the paper. But if you want to see like 2020s maximalism, I think that one really embodies like the idea of just being maximalist. Maximalism design is what I'm looking for. No, it keeps showing me like interior design. I want like graphic design. Here we go. This is an example of like contemporary maximalist design. So like every like part of the paper, of the canvas is like filled with something, you know? And it's a reaction to like the clean minimalism that you saw in like the 2010s. Like this is also a good example. Oh, here, this one. It like has a lot of experimentation. It's very loud, you know? Maximalism, and it's a picture of Magni Decimate. Maximals are like the Decepticons in Beast Wars. Exactly, exactly. Like the Shonen Jump covers. Yeah, that's actually a really good example of maximalism. That's like a perfect example. So that's a little bit of mid-century modern. We're gonna see some like offshoots and some inspirations as well. So let's see. Googie, this is the one that I wanted to talk about the most because it's from Los Bincos. It's from LA. Sorry, I meant to send that in Discord. Wait, which one? It's okay. It's okay. No worries. No worries. So that's what it's called. I just thought of the magazine rule of thumb or something. It might be like, it might just be kind of a label that was what's the word, like retroactively put there. But that's what I'm calling it now. It's maximalism. I'm wondering if I should start off with or if I should go to Googie now, or if I should go over some of these other art movements, because these are actually earlier, but I didn't go over them when we like in their initial time periods. So for example, yeah, you know what? We'll start here first. So this is Streamline Moderne, and it's not from the 50s. It's actually from the 30s, but it's something that I didn't go over in the 30s, and it does influence the styles of the 50s. So what this is like rewind, whoop, 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 whoop. We're talking about the 1930s. If you remember the 1930s, this is where we talked a little bit about Frida Kahlo, social realism, Mexican muralism, regionalism, all that stuff. We're back in the Great Depression, you know, good times, going California way, and all of that stuff. So we're oh, and a little bit of Edward Hopper as well. So we're back here, and there is a style coming out called Streamlined Moderne, and it's kind of an offshoot from Art Deco. We did talk about Art Deco in the 20s, so you have all these geometric features, but it stresses like aerodynamic is aerodynamic stuff. It's aerodynamic, so everything is very streamlined, as per the name. So there's a lot of horizontal lines and curves. So like if you look at like this restaurant or these like buildings over here, it's very horizontal, but there's lots of curves as well. Just random curves. You like them curves, girl. And it is like Art Deco, but stripped of ornamentation. So if we rewind even more, we're doing a lot of rewinding. Burp, 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 burp. Art Deco is all about like opulence, right? Lots of like extra details, sunbursts and stuff like that. If you strip the ornamentation away from this style of architecture, you get, fast forward, we get streamlined moderne. I don't actually know if that's how it's pronounced. I don't know if it's just modern, but every video I've seen on it says modern, which feels wrong. It's not streamlined modern, it's streamlined modern. But yeah, it's like if you strip off the ornamentation, this is what you get. You get streamlined modern. This one has more horizontal lines, but it still has that same like philosophy of like just a lot of horizontality? Horizontal lines. It has a lot of horizontal lines. Might as well be a bit extra. It is modern. Everything needs to look like they can be launched into space. That's an excellent point, right? So like if we're talking about like horizontal streamlined lines, it's like this train. Like it looks like it has to go really fast in a horizontal direction. But once we start talking about the space age and the atomic age with the vertical lines, then it needs to be aerodynamic to go into space, into the last place, uncorrupted by capitalism. Space! So that's kind of the philosophy of like streamlined modern. It also says sometimes nautical elements, but I'm not really seeing it that much. But so this is happening in the 1930s. Once we get into like the post-war 40s, you also get the atomic age design. So this is like retrofuturistic. It's what people in the 40s and 50s thought the future would look like. It's like when I see the Jetsons and talking about like retrofuturism, I think of the episode of Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, where they have the Jetsons on the show and they're like, we come from the far off year of 2002, and then Harvey Birdman like looks at his calendar and it says like 2005. I just think of that a lot. Because this is what people thought like the 2000s would be like. People would be living like up in the air. They would have robot maids, and like this is what the fashion would be, you know? Oh my god, this song. The train looks like Fleischer Superman is about to save it. Yeah, speaking of Fleischer. Is that how you say it? Fleischer? Oh, where was it? That's like rubber hose animation, right? Is that Fleischer? We need to have that collab so you could school me on animation. I keep forgetting to reach out to you about that. Poor George Jetson, his boss is a slave driver. I hear some days he has to press the button 4 times! At least it's not 6. Or God forbid 7. Harvey Birdman had a lot of banger jokes. Yeah! Yeah. Dude, Harvey Birdman is so good. I like the one where, like, Fred Flintstone thinks he's, like, a mob boss. And, you know who my favorite character is in Harvey Birdman? The bear. I love the bear, the murr. And then he starts, like, clapping. It's not rubber hose, it's more like rotoscope. Oh, like the Superman ones, right? This one, right? I don't remember if you were here when I talked about the 40s, but I watched the Fleischer style Superman cartoon, and it kind of traumatized me as a kid. It was one where like he barely saves Lois Lane from like becoming a gold statue. Like she was gonna be dipped in like molten gold. And like even as a kid, I was like, that's horrible. That's like terrifying. Why would they put this in a kid's cartoon? But I think back then it wasn't seen as a kid's cartoon. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Bear bias, bear honk. Is that the Mummy episode? It's the if we're talking about the Superman one, it's the he goes underground. Like he goes underground and he encounters like cave like bird people. It just like traumatized me as a kid. As a cub, I mean, as a cub. But yeah, going back to Atomic Age, this is like retro-futuristic design. It has this this mix of like optimism because the war is over, but also anxiety because nuclear bombs are a thing. And then it makes use of a lot of like atomic models, starbursts, like the kinds that we saw, not the candy, but like this. This is what they mean by like a starburst. Which makes me wonder, does the candy, did it used to have that design? Right? In design, the fonts are bold, thick, and have quirky details. And then color palettes include saturated colors like avocado green, turquoise. Here's some examples. So like bright, vibrant yellow, red, turquoise, and then sometimes they have pastels and black and whites, but they're mostly used for like accents. I keep on moving these things. And then textures include it's not quite here, but halftones. So you see that more in like comics and stuff. And then ink bleeds. So I thought this was the Stratosphere from Vegas. It's not. It's another building. But is this not the Stratosphere? This looks like the Stratosphere, right? Isn't it? I think it's the Space Needle. But yeah, these are all examples of the Atomic Age. So yeah, it's the Space Needle, right? I thought it was the Stratosphere. I do not think. They all look the same. Thank you for affirming my confusion with the Stratosphere and the Space Needle. But yeah, so I talked about Streamline Modern and Atomic Age because Googie, this thing that I've been hyping up so much, draws inspiration from both. So Googie is an offshoot of Streamline Modern, but it's LA. It's Los Bincos. It's LB. So it has like these space age, atomic age motifs. It has the starburst. It has like these exaggerated lines and like curves and stuff. And then I learned a little bit of vocabulary from researching this. Cantilevered. Have you guys ever heard of that term before? Cantilevered. It basically means that it's like a piece of architecture or design that is supported on one side or anchored on one side by something, but then another part of it is unsupported. So it was kind of hard for me to understand at first, but it's kind of like this like roof over here. This part of the roof is supported by like, you know, probably structural beams and stuff like that. But this part of the roof is just kind of floating in the air, right? It's unsupported, but the weight of this side kind of like makes it so that it doesn't just fall over. So that's what cantilevered means. I learned that today. Turns out you can teach an old art history bear new tricks. So, you did see this a lot in California, in California, specifically Los Angeles, Los Pincos. A lot of these buildings have been demolished though. But there is a car wash that I've seen that still looks like this. They just kind of like, they don't have these cool colors anymore. They just like are beige, sadly enough. And then in different parts of Los Pincos, you still see a lot of norms. I think there's one that got demolished not too long ago and near like one of my friends' locations. Cause, okay, I'll say this much from personal experience. Norm's was like the place to go to after 2 a.m., like after like drinking. It's one of those places that like, I think the one that was like close to me and my friends was like a 24-hour one. So like, back in our 20s when we used to go to the club, or just hang out after like a night of drinking, after like all the bars close and stuff. You would either go to the Denny's or you would go to the Norms, because they were both 24 hours and they both had like that greasy diner food that you needed to like prevent or hold off on a hangover. so so Norms was the place to be for that kind of stuff. I remember I had many a time where I was at a Norms and being like, I just want to go home. I want to go home. I'm so tired. I feel the hangover coming. Why are you guys still talking? I already finished my hash browns. I just want to go home. Yeah, that's Googie, and I was so excited to show this because so many of these just feel so familiar. I'm checking the menu. Oh my gosh. Your emotional support post club restaurant. Yeah. They got chilaquiles. Dang. Fun fact, they probably did. They probably did have chilaquiles. Because I remember like a friend of mine I would always get like, if we were at a Denny's, I'd always get moons over my hammy. And, what else? Moons over my hammy, and then someone else would get like the enchiladas. Always get the enchiladas. Or the wet burrito. That's what they would get. Beans would always get the wet burrito back in the day. And I would always get the moons over my hammy with like hash browns and stuff. Man, memories. But yeah, you would see this in LAX, the infamous LA airport. Sadly enough, this used to be a restaurant, but it's defunct. There's actually nothing going on in there anymore. As far as I know. Maybe there is stuff going in there. A wet burrito. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. That's what it would be on the item. It was a wet burrito. Were Denny's food names always this freaky? Yeah. Wait, yeah, right. Now I'm questioning myself. Denny's moons over my hammy? I would always get that. It's like a sandwich. But it's like a breakfast sandwich, so it kind of hits real good when it's like 2 in the morning. Here. It's moons over my hammy. It's a sandwich with like egg and like some kind of deli meat back when I was able to eat meat. And cheese! That's what it had too. And then you also had like the hash brown to the side. It's moons over my hammy. But yeah, there was also like the wet burrito. But we talked about the Las Vegas sign, which nowadays, yeah, you have to like go out of your way to see it. Before, I remember like the first time I went to Las Vegas or Las Vegas with my family was like 2002 or 2001 or something. I remember because my little brother was like barely born. And no. So I remember like back in the day you could just like park right here and then just like take a picture, right? Not Las Vegas. Oh no, what does Las Vegas mean? Oh no. Did I say an uh-oh? Did I say an accidental no word? Oh no. We'll call it wait, this is like the fields, right? That's what this means in Spanish. What's like the bear fields? Los Vegas Osos. There we go. Ositos. I don't recognize this. So this is the restaurant that like lent its name to the style. It was actually a restaurant called Googie's. But I think it doesn't exist anymore. This was like in LA. This was like in the city itself. I think this is in like Maine or Idaho or like another state. And then you got Bob's Big Burger, which is always such a delightful name. Have you guys ever seen... Hold on. Bob's Big... Oh no, Bob's Big Boy. It's not Bob's Big Burger, it's Bob's Big Boy. That's amore. This guy. Have you guys ever seen like this like kid, I guess? Beans and I have like a piggy bank that looks like this kid. But yeah, it's Bob's. We got Big Boy and Marijuana. Oh, nice. I should go there for lunch next week. Yeah, there's like a couple of Bob's Big Boys still like around, like in Los Pincos. Homer stole his donut. That's right. That's right. But now it's a boiga. That's amore. It's funny because I have a friend who like she has a close relationship with her dad, and her dad's name is Bob, and she sometimes refers to herself as Bob's Big Boy, even though she is a woman and identifies as a woman. Like, Googies has fallen, but Bob still stands. It's true. There's still a bunch of Bob's Big Boys out there, which feels so weird to say. It feels like I'm talking about a person. Just don't look. Just don't look. Yeah, the like, was it like a Ghostbusters parody episode? So yeah, this is very Googies style. BB at BBB, Bibinka Bear at Bob's Big Boy. If they have pescatarian options, I would be down to go to Bob's Big Boy, but alas, I don't think they do. Now that I think about it. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Okay, so we talked about mid-century modern, we talked about Googie, Streamline Modern, Atomic Age. I think at this point now we can go to the right side of this little chart. And we actually don't have too much else to talk about. It's mostly going to be fashion and cars. But at this point, I hope you have a good grasp of what the aesthetics were like. If we're talking about, yeah, like UPA style and like Gendy Tarkovsky style like animation like Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, there was a lot of inspiration from this like time period. So I think that's pretty cool. Very geometric. So let's go into fashion, but also let me take a drinky of water. Let me hydrate. I don't think my are my frames still bad? OBS keeps saying that I have like dropped frames, but I'm like looking over at like Beans' computer. He has my stream on and like there's like a slight delay, but it's not that bad. So either OBS is lying to me or y'all are really bearing through like the drop frames. Which I appreciate. I appreciate. Oh my gosh, this song I only know because of Fallout. Imagine it, you're in the wasteland and a giant cockroach comes at you and you do the VAT system and you blow its head off. Say I'm crazy. It was buffering a bit when I joined, but I haven't had any issues in a hot minute. Nice! Thanks for letting me know. I'm glad, because every time I see like the scary red button saying that I have drop frames, it's like, oh no, I'm not giving a quality education to these cubs. They're gonna end up on the streets. They're gonna be... Well, actually, if you guys were doing street art, based off our conversation with Mega Bronson, that wouldn't be such a bad thing. At the very least, you guys are making art. It's like you guys have like spray cans, despite the lack of hands. You guys are making like all this like graffiti art, but I just come over and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. Maybe I should stop giving you guys a quality education. The Wasteland, so Staten Island, New York. Actually, like, where have all of the Fallout games taken place? I know that like one is in DC, one is in New Vegas. Has there been a Fallout that takes place in New York? Actually, I'm not familiar. Where does Fallout 4 take place? Didn't Fallout 4 have the city where it's like in a stadium, right? Fallout 1 is in California. Ah, okay. Jewel Tier, hello, thank you for joining the class. We're doing a bit of style study today. We're studying the styles of the 1950s. And, 4 is Boston. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I just remember there was like the main town was in like a stadium, right? Fallout 2 is also California. Oh, okay, okay. But yeah, we are studying the 1950s right now. What style did BioShock have? Oh, that's a good question. Just from memory, because I did play BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite. That feels earlier than the eras we've been. I feel like that's like early 20th century, late 19th century. But I might need to like look at it again if I'm being honest. Yeah, Fallout New Vegas is in Nevada. You know what? Let me check right now. BioShock. I think Infinite is earlier, and BioShock 1 and 2 is maybe later. The thing is, it's very like, it's not really steampunk. What? Let me see here. Oh, you know what? BioShock, if I'm looking at the architecture, it feels very Art Deco. Architecture. If we're looking at samples of like what the city looks like, I don't know, it has like this height to it that kind of reminds me a lot of wait, let me put on OBS so I know what you guys are looking at. Here we go. Oh, it says Art Deco. It says Art Deco right here. That's funny. But yeah, there's like a lot of verticality to it. We are seeing some of those like rounded corners, like when we were looking at Streamline Modern. So that would be, what, 20s, 30s? But then again, this is like Infinite. So if we're looking at like BioShock 1 architecture, yeah, it's still like pretty streamlined modern. But then some of these features remind me of like older, you know, like late 19th century, like 1890s and stuff. The thing is, we haven't studied the 1890s yet, or like the 1900s and the 1910s, so I could be wrong. But these like big statues also kind of remind me of like 1920s cabaret style. Yeah. Now this big face over here just reminds me of like what was it, like Mussolini's Mussolini's Italy, where he just has like that evil base with his face on it. That's crazy. So yeah, I want to say maybe 20s, 30s. That's a great question. Based off everything that we've been learning so far, is like, oh, now we can start to identify some like certain architectural styles. Very cool. Let's get back to it. Okay, so let's start with men's fashion, then we'll go to women's fashion, and then cars. So men's fashion, as I mentioned before, this is like the golden age of Hollywood, so people were very much influenced by Hollywood stars and musical artists. So the big names of this time was like Elvis and James Dean. I didn't include pictures, but also Marlon Brando as well. And like I said, they kind of popularized the idea of casual wear as something acceptable to wear like outside. Because if we want to look at what came before, here you go. Here's men's fashion before. So it's suits. It's lots of suits. Even when you go back to like, say, the 1920s and 30s, everyone's wearing suits. Always, 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 right? There's different styles of suits, and that's kind of what I have trouble telling apart, is like the different styles throughout the decades of suits, because for some years, like the bottom of the suit will be completely straight, but then in other styles, there's going to be a little bit of like a U-shaped gap here. I still have trouble telling that apart. So up until like the so to like differentiate it, if we're playing Time Guesser and we see someone in a suit, you do have to differentiate according to like what kind of hats they wear, if they're wearing hats at all, if they're wearing vests, as opposed to like a sweater vest or like a waistcoat, as they say. In the 40s, what were we seeing? Oh, like certain designs too, whether it was double-breasted or single-breasted, which I'm gonna be so honest with you guys, I actually didn't know what that meant for a very long time. I didn't know what it meant when people said that a suit is double-breasted or single-breasted, because I was like, but we all got two breasts. Like, so I found out literally, I think like yesterday or the day before, that it's the number of buttons, like, or the like lines of buttons. So if it's like this, where it's like a single line of buttons, it's single-breasted. If it's like this, where there's like two like rows of buttons, then it's double-breasted, right? I didn't know that until like 2 days ago. And when people mention it, I would just like nod and be like, yeah, double-breasted. So let's see. Vest. Oh, vesties. A sweater vest sounds very professor-like. That too. I also just heard that. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that was like, yes, double-breasted suit. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, but don't we all have like? I mean, unless you had a mastectomy, but like, barring that, don't people typically have two breasts? So, we have an ad break coming up. We have an ad break. Because of the delay, maybe I should put you guys in recess right now. Yeah, I'll put you guys in recess right now. And then we'll continue our discussion of men's fashion of the 1950s. Me when Derek Guy mentioned double-breasted suits. Binka and the amazing double-breasted dream suit. Exactly. And it's Technicolor too. Well, actually, mine isn't even breasted. It's a zipper. It's a zipper. Okay, well, we'll put you guys in recess. We'll put you guys in recess. We haven't. Oh, I'm floating. How am I doing that? There we go. Alright, have fun with Lightning McQueen. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Breastless suit! Nah, I was born with one singular breast. Dead center! The super breast. Alright, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, we're back. We're back, and also the frames have stopped dropping. I'm looking at my OBS, and it's all green. Very green. So things feel pretty good. Look at pretty good. But welcome back. Welcome back. We just have a couple more things to yap about for today, and then we're done. And I'm gonna be making art tomorrow. I just looked over at my desk, and I was like, oh man, why do I have so many like stamp making things? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm making stamps tomorrow. So hopefully you guys are excited for that. But let's get back to it, shall we? Oh yeah. During the ad break, the "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog" started playing, and I was like, "Oh, this is peak 50s. Let's take a listen." Or maybe it's 60s. We'll find out. One thing that I did forget to research in terms of 50s stuff is animation, though. So maybe we'll do a little teensy bit of that before we end off for today. But let's get into the fashion. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. You ain't nothing but a beans bear. Okay. Oh yeah, so prior to the 1950s, men typically wore suits, and even if you were being rebellious, they were still wearing suits, but just like oversized suits. So that was the 40s. So if we go over to the 50s, you see like, what? No suit. Okay, these guys are obviously wearing suits, but like it was more socially acceptable to not wear suits, as in to wear just a shirt and like a jacket over your shirt. So let's go into a little bit of that, and then I'm excited to talk about this hairstyle, because if you were in the Discord hangout yesterday, you already know what this hairstyle is called, and it's a very entertaining name, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So, what do I have here? The post-war prosperity led to a rise in casual wear, and popularized by Hollywood actors like James Dean, Marlon Brando, and Frank Sinatra. Shout out to James Dean for his role in eventually letting me wear pajamas at the airport years and years later. For real though, that with like slides, right? Socks and sandals, and like the pajama jams. I mean, if you're going on a long flight, it just makes sense, right? It just makes sense. Shout out to James Dean for that. Oh yeah, and the video that I watched, this site, by the way, Gentleman's Gazette, is really good. The only thing is that it ends in the 60s. He talks about what like men's fashion throughout the decade, but it stops at the 60s. So once we get into like the 70s, I'm kind of cooked. I have to find a new source. But otherwise, he goes like really into detail. He goes really into detail about like fashion. So this was the renaissance of hatwear. Not patwear, hatwear. James Dean, not to be confused with Jimmy Dean, yeah. For the sausages, right? So men didn't always wear too many. So the thing is, like, what came before, if we're talking about how like a lot of things throughout the decades are reactions to things to what came before, the 40s was the era of rationing because it was wartime, right? But now that it wasn't wartime, and now that there's this optimism, men's fashion ended in the 60s. No, I mean, we are all wearing jammy jams now, right? So now we don't have to worry about rationing. Now people can be a little bit more exuberant. Wait, is that the right word? Extravagant. There we go. Extravagant in what they wear. So hats made a comeback. So they got your fedoras, your straw hats, your Panama hats, and your flat caps. These were kind of like staples for a very long time anyway. But under the hats, people were styling their hair, or rather men were styling their hair into pompadours, like your Josuke Jogashikatas. I'm trying to find like pompadours. And then this hairstyle, which is called the jelly roll, but it's also known as the duck butt. It wasn't actually known as the duck butt. It was called the duck ass, but I try not to swear. But for educational reasons, you should know that this hairstyle was called the duck ass. And it kind of, I guess, looks like a duck's butt. I want to say, but I just see this and I think of Josuke Higashikata from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right? Or did you guys ever watch Blade Runner? There was that one, was she an android? I forgot her character. Kind of serves, not gonna lie, right? I just don't know why it's called duck butt. Well, you know, it's probably called duck butt because it looks like a duck butt, but I think it is a cool hairstyle, right? You do need a lot of combing for it, right? But yeah, so that was one example. Your pompadours and your slick back hairstyles. This is kind of slick back, right? Nemo touched the butt. Man, Finding Nemo was always like the go-to movie that we would watch in middle school when it was raining. So like all the PE classes had to go to the gym and watch a movie. It was either Sandlot or Finding Nemo. So I feel like I've watched that one like at least 3 times. Same with like Sandlot. I can't tell you what the plot of Sandlot was, but I can at least tell you the plot of Finding Nemo. Let's see. Oh yeah, and usually men were clean shaven during this time, but and older men would have like full beards or mustaches, but the rough stubble was another look that James Dean kind of popularized. You remember that? Oh man. Like everyone go to the gym, it's raining, right? Waistcoats. Wait, it's so hard to say for me. Waistcoats. These were kind of like the fancy under vest thingies. Do I have a picture? Oh, here. I guess I don't. I need a picture of a waistcoat. Where is? Oh, here. Like here. Underneath your suit, you would typically have a waistcoat. But as the years rolled on, vests were becoming more popular. There's literally never enough time to finish the movie. Yeah, right? That's actually a good point. That's the reason why there's some movies that I remember starting but never finished. Like I had a AP psychology class in high school where we watched WALL-E one day and then we just never finished it. It was I don't know if the teacher was hungover or something, but we started WALL-E and then the next day he was like, all right, back to teaching AP Psych. And it's why did you just show us the first part of the movie? Hey kids, you want to watch the same first 30 minutes of the Bee movie for the 5th time? But the thing is, with considering all known laws of aerodynamics, bees aren't meant to fly. I actually don't know the beginning monologue of that movie, but it has to do with that, right? You beat me to the joke. The thing is, I don't remember it exactly, so you can still copy paste it if you want. Either that or the Final Fantasy 14 copy pasta. Any copy pasta, really. Well, not any, but most. So yeah, you start to see more sweater vests being preferred over waistcoats. Oh yeah, some of the shirts were pretty bold, as you can see with this illustration right here. You got some bold colors, as well as some patterns like checkerboard. Men could also go without ties at this point. So here's an example of that. You could go without ties unless you were working in an office or something like that. I never knew that quote was from the Bee movie for the longest time. I always saw it as Tumblr inspirational post. It's wow. Tumblr really likes the bees. Despite the known laws of aerodynamics, they really like the bees. Whenever I think of bees, I think of what's the ping pong movie? Is it Balls of Fury or something? There's a scene where the mentor, the stereotypical Asian mentor is hit balls. You hit bees, and he throws down a box and it's just full of bees. Where was I? Actually, it's all laws of aviation. Oh, that's what it was. Actually. So men could go without ties at this point, and sometimes if they're feeling saucy, they could even
According
go.
To all known laws of aviation,
Mr.
there
Pancakes.
is no way a
He
bee
knows
should
it.
be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyway because bees don't care what humans think is impossible.
Wow. Inspirational. The way that he said fat little body is so funny. It's he's saying it begrudgingly, right? He's Mr. Pancakes is begrudgingly saying it because he's I'm fat, why can't I fly? God, I forgot. Me and Beans. Sorry, this is gonna be a complete tangent from what we're talking about. But me and Beans started we started a new in-joke concerning Mr. Pancakes because we started watching Gachi Akuta. And if you guys don't know the plot of Gachi Akuta, in so little words, basically you can I guess develop superpowers based off of like an item in your life that you really value. So for example, if you really value, I don't know, like a pair of gloves, then that your superpower has to do with like the gloves, right? If you really value like a pair of scissors, then your like main weapon is like a pair of scissors that gets like superpowered and stuff like that. So, you know, like I was like, oh, what would my like valued, it's called like vital instrument. Like, what would my vital instrument be? And I was like, oh, it'd be Mr. Pancakes. Mr. Pancakes is like my valued like vital instrument. And I was like, oh, what would my superpower be if Mr. Pancakes is my vital instrument? And we were like, oh, he would just come to life and he would make pancakes for people. But it'd be like a very limited like supply of what you can like order from him. And he's like, you can either order blueberry pancakes or chocolate chip pancakes. And that's it. We don't serve regular. It's just those options. And he like, and we just kept on riffing off each other. And we were like, imagine he has like boxes of like pancake mix next to him at all times. And there's like very obviously a box of like regular pancake mix, but that's for him. Like that's not for anyone else. That's his stash of pancake mix. And if he really didn't like you, he would give you Eggo. Even though I actually like Eggo more than pancakes. But like, I heard it's that Danny DeVito trash man joke as an anime. I'm the trash man. Kind of, sort of. I do like the anime a lot. We both really like Gachi Akuta. Like, if you like are ready for a shonen anime that like, I'll say this about shonen anime. Hi Twisty, hello, welcome. When it comes to like shonen anime, I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen, like if we're talking about like modern shonen anime, Jujutsu Kaisen takes all of the tropes that you're used to and runs with it. It takes all of the usual shonen tropes, you know, of like being in like a 3-man team with like the usual tropes like around the 3-man team, with friendship, power of friendship, superpowers, all that stuff. I feel like it runs with those tropes, whereas Gachi Akuta like kind of goes against some of those tropes. Not completely, of course, like it still has a lot of tropes that you're familiar with, like the superpowers and stuff like that, but there are a lot of twists that I just like am not always used to. Whereas like Jujutsu Kaisen feels more like a distillation, like a crystallization of like shonen tropes, and it kind of like runs with it in a good way. But that's just my take. That's just a game theory. But anyway, back to 50s fashion. Let's see. Oh, this is why I learned the difference between single-breasted and double-breasted. So, single-breasted coats became more popular throughout the 1950s. And then early 50s, you saw American sack-style suits. I don't know anything about suits, so like I can't really tell them apart. But apparently, American suits are a little bit more like formless, and Italian suits are more like cinched at the waist to give it like an hourglass figure. I don't quite have like any examples, unfortunately, but so early 50s you saw more like shapeless suits, and then late 50s was more narrow, more of like an hourglass style. You also started to see some cardigans coming into the mix. Shorts were a thing, and then there were unique New York, unique footwear, such as winkle pickers, suede shoes, and chukka boots. I don't know what any of those are, but I know that one of those shoes, here we go, is very pointy. Very pointy at the tip. So yeah, that's a little bit about men's fashion of the time. Women's fashion, the hourglass figure thing that I said earlier about men's fashion, that went more so with women. So the ideal of this time was to have that hourglass figure. So you had to have like the cinch waist. You wanted the skirt to be a little bit more full so that it like accentuated that waist a little bit more. So this is kind of like opposing what you would see either in the 40s and 20s. This is what me and the boys wore when we went down to the malt shop. Yeah, exactly. Ooh, the malt shop sounds good. Also, hello, Baxter Crook. Hello. But in the 40s, women typically had like, first of all, there was a lot of rationing because of the war. So people were like, women were remaking the suits of their husbands or brothers or fathers or uncles or what have you. They were remaking those suits into like feminine skirt suits. So you still kind of saw like they were accentuating like the waist a little bit more. But some of them were a little bit more blocky. And then if you compare it to, say, like the 1920s, where the silhouette was supposed to be a little bit more tubular, right? Very elongated and tubular. It's very rectangular. So then you fast forward over to the 50s and it's more so with that like hourglass silhouette. So like right here, right? So you wanted belts, you wanted waist, or what is it, like waist belts and stuff like that to really accentuate the hips. You wanted the skirt to be poofier, so that, you know, by comparison, your waist was smaller. And then this is the start of what's called poodle skirts, where you had like little designs on your skirts. Sometimes it's a poodle, but sometimes it's the Eiffel Tower, phone, and I want to say Jerry from Tom and Jerry. So there's that. What else? What else? Oh yeah, waistbands. Some girls also did have pencil skirts at the time, but you still wanted that like hourglass figure. And then accessories, you wanted gloves and handbags. These are more so baskets, but like gloves were fashionable. You see gloves here with these ladies. They kind of help to complete the look. Here we go, some gloves over here. Makeup for some ladies included bigger eyebrows, vivid eyeshadow, thick eyeliner, and red lipstick. And then the hair was sometimes short. And then the only example that I could find, like, very shaped. Like, you didn't have the victory curls that you saw in the 40s. Because in the 40s, it was all about them curls, right? You still kind of saw that in the 50s, but it was more so, like, trying to make a very specific, like, shape. I don't quite know how to, like, say it other than, like, they just use the word shaped. Like, it's very shaped. So, yeah, that's women's fashion. The icons of the time were Elizabeth Taylor and Audrey Hepburn. Let's see. It's yellow. Hello, hello. We're talking about 1950s fashion. So yeah, I think this is gonna be pretty helpful for when we like do Time Guesser and we try to like see the fashion and see like what is the silhouette? Is it tubular like the 1920s? Is it hourglass like the 1950s? Is it like army like the 1940s? You know. I will admit I didn't really notice how like popular the gloves were up until this time. So, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this. So once again, like the 50s also marked the end, the beginning of like teenagers being their own subgroup, their own like population, you know, rather than just being either old kids or young adults. So with that also came youth subcultures. So you had the jocks, right? You had the, I guess I didn't get a picture of it, but they usually have like their varsity jackets. You have your greasers, with the big hairstyles, the leather jackets, the t-shirt, and the jeans, you know? Oh, why didn't I freaking talk about Grease every so often, and yet I didn't include a picture from the Grease musical. We go together like there we go. You got some greaser fashion right here, right? Actually, why don't we listen to a little bit of Grease? The thing with Grease, though, is that I'm pretty sure it's produced in the 70s. So it has a little bit more of that funk sound to it, but like it's supposed to be like a callback to the 50s. It was people from the 70s feeling nostalgic for like the 50s. But what's a good one from Grease? Grease Lightning! There we go. It's Hydromatic. I'm gonna squirm over to nap time corner. Good night, friends. Good night, Alpaca. Thanks for dropping by. Thank you, thank you. Oh, keep talking. Millennial Idol. Hello, you changed your name. Millennial Idol. It gives like such a... I know you were cosmic before, but now that still gives a cosmic feel to it, right? Okay, so I knew about the jocks and the greasers, but there's another subculture that I didn't know about. They're called the Teddy Boys, and this is from across the pond. I've been summoned thanks to Grease. Heck yeah. Keep talking. I have an early day tomorrow, so I also gotta go. Thanks so much for the stream and the lesson. Of course, thanks for dropping by, Testosterone. We're almost done anyway. We're just gonna talk about cars. We might look a little bit into animation and we'll call it, but thanks for dropping by. Thank you, thank you. So yeah, the Teddy Boys. This was another subculture that I just found out about. They were known for wearing their frock coats, some draped jackets, with a little bit of punk on the side too, but you can also see their hairstyle has a little bit of the duck butt that we were talking about earlier, right? I wanted people to not think I'm I, and also to basically, basically a hag. No, well, a fellow hag bear. Fellow hag bear, right? I'll still be here. No worries, no worries. What was I saying? So yeah, you have the Teddy Boys over here, fellow olds. Yeah, I think now we could just go to the cars. This was actually the last thing that I researched, and I just finished doing this research today after work. Actually, it was like during work. But here is the evolution of cars. So we are starting in 1950. Which one is the 52? This one. 1952 Hudson Hornet. And the main reason why I usually try to, like, when I study cars from a decade, I try to get one car from the beginning of the decade, one car from the middle of the decade, and then one car from the last part of the decade. However, this one is a little bit skewed, so I have a 1952 Hudson Hornet, and once again, as a disclaimer, I don't know much about cars. I don't know anything about, like, the specific names of parts, but I try my best to at least draw it. I didn't take a picture of the drawings though, but it was fun drawing these. And I actually picked these because this one is, you know what? Let me get a picture first of all. Grease lightning, you're burning up the quarter mile. Grease lightning, oh, grease lightning. There we go. Well, how did you know Peck School? Yeah. It's a Cars reference. It's Doc Hudson. So I picked this car because it's a Doc Hudson. It's a Cars reference. It's the same guy. Like, see? But okay, it's funny because like I drew this and I was like, all right, cool. I drew him. I looked at the reference of Doc Hudson and I was immediately perturbed by his eyes. Like, I was like, why he looking at us like that? Why he got them eyes though? And I'm not talking about why does he have eyes in general. I'm talking about why he got those eyes. Like, you know what I mean? Cars watch along when? Ooh. Maybe I should invite my brother to that. He loves cars. I would be down for that. That emote. So, beginning of the decade, and this isn't indicative of the whole, like, of all, like, cars in 1952, but it is, like, you know, like, this is just an example of an early 50s car. But what's really cool here is, like, you do see, like, the curves on the hood itself. The grille is less detailed, but just as ornate, in my opinion. If we want to look at an example of a car from, here we go, the 1940s, look at the design of the grille. It has a little bit more, like, ornamentation to it. It has a little bit more, like, smaller parts, right? Over here. Oh, my cursor keeps turning into a hand. But then if you go over to the 1950s, there's less, like, ornamentation, I want to say. But it's just as, like, ornamentative, right? Like, it still takes up a lot of space. It's just not as much, like, minor details. Grill! Thanks for the big emote, Matthew. Yes, the grill. Excuse me, I had to burp. You also see a little bit of, like, silver decoration on a lot of these. It's raining on prom night. Let's see. Oh yeah, and, like, the cover of, like, up until this point, the things that cover the wheels were kind of, like, they were starting to get integrated into the cars, but they were still kind of separate. So look at, like, the thing that covers the wheel. I think they're called fenders. Like, they're meant to just, like, cover the wheel almost, but also serve as, like, a place for, like, the headlights to go. They start to become more integrated with the overall shell of the car, if that makes sense. So you guys see, like, this part where I'm, like, you know, directing my cursor. That's, like, the overall shell. And then to the side are, like, the fenders. Little by little, they start to get more integrated in each other until they're kind of like a singular box, you know? Like, it's almost starting to merge with the overall shell. And you see that a lot more with, like, these 50s cars. So eventually, like, it's all one box, so to speak. You do get depending on like the type of car, you do see exceptions. So for example, you still see like this is jutting out. It's like a little bit more bulbous. I want to say it's a little bit more bulbous, but it's still like covering the wheel, right? Hello, Zako. Hello. So yeah, like we have the Hudson Hornet. We also have Doc Hudson. Back when it was survival to get hit by a car. What a concept, right? And then afterwards, the one that I tried to get as an example of like middle of the decade was the 1957 Chevrolet Corvette. And I also picked this one for a specific reason. Let me get the reference picture. Oh, I can't. Can I not get a reference picture? Give me a second. Here we go. Utena, it's the Utena car. It's not the car that Utena turns into, spoiler alert, but it's a car that is featured in Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is one of my favorite animes. So, yes. God, please, can we start making cars look good again? Because of how low they are at most, you break a leg, go over the car, and not get trampled. No, because capitalism hates us. Exactly. The Utena car, exactly, right? It's based off of this car, the 1957 Chevrolet Corvette. And as I mentioned before, like, there's still like a little bit of like bulbous jutting out with like the thing that's covering the wheels, but it's integrated with the overall shell. And once again, I don't know if that's even the right term, but the grille is once again like, it's still there and it's pretty big, but it's just not as ornate as it used to be, or it's not as complicated. This is still pretty ornate though. And then the example of like a late 50s car is this one. This is the 1959 Chevy Impala. And it's very... what I noticed when I was drawing this, and when... this is not my drawing, of course, but like when I was like using this as a reference, is that it kind of has the streamlined modern style that we were talking about earlier, right? Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. So the streamlined modern, where is it? Even though this is like a stuff from the 1930s, we do see it influencing the 1950s, right? So it has the horizontal lines, less so curves and more so like kind of sharp features like here. So it's got the googie, it's got the streamlined modern, but in a car, right? So it's got the curves, it's got the horizontal lines. It has the horizontal lines. And it's kind of squashed too in a way. It feels more boxy. Yeah, exactly, folk. It's a very Jetsons looking car. Exactly. And here the grille is a little bit more like, has a little bit more ornamentation on it. And it has the double headlights as well. But it's like this part in the back, this like tail part that feels very Jetsons, right? And then this like big old horizontal line as well as some horizontal lines here and here. It feels very streamlined modern. It feels very atomic. It feels very googie, you know. See, if you didn't know the terminology, it sounds like I'm just saying things, right? It sounds like I'm just spouting random words, but I swear these are all terms. And these are examples of tail fins. This is very 50s. Hey Owen, hello. I went to a really cool car museum last summer that had a lot of these crazy 50s cars. They're so big, they're like small boats on the road. Yeah, right? The stripes, the wing looking bits, it's got that wonderful retro futurism to it. Yes, exactly, right? So it's cool to see kind of just like the difference between like I said, this early 50s where it's a little bit more rounded, it's a little bit more bulbous. And then this is definitely more bulbous, and then it goes like the complete opposite direction into like more geometric, more like rectangular, kind of boxy, right? So pretty streamlined. But yeah, so it's just cool to see like, because I think I did the research for Streamline Modern, Atomic Age, and Googie earlier today. And then right before the stream started, I did the research on the cars. And it was like, oh my gosh, these styles just feel so like related to each other, you know? Here's a group of owners of old cars, and they do a parade through the main streets of Beruana. Ooh, cool. I also feel like this is the style that is starting to get into those Cadillacs that like here in Los Pincos, you see a lot of lowriders. And it's starting to kind of get into that style, like those Cadillacs, I want to say, right? That's kind of what this reminds me of. But cool. So yeah, we did the cars, we did the fashion, we did the art movements, we did the architecture and aesthetics, we did the furniture, interior design, graphic design, fashion, current events. The last thing that I forgot to do was the animation. So we can actually do that right now if we so please. So what are examples of like 1950s animation? Let's take a look-see. I need like a visual. I need some visuals here. Oh no, it's not loading. It's not loading. Or maybe Tumblr? Give me a second. Ooh, okay, so Tumblr has some like examples. Oh, okay. Tumblr has some examples. 1950s cartoon style. One of my Viscom units is printmaking. Cartoon modern 1950s animation style stem largely from the desire of animation artists to move beyond the slapstick routines and hurt gags that have been stock in trade of American animated filmmakers up until that time. Instead, use the language of animation to convey contemporary ideas and themes. Modern design was the ideal vehicle for delivering this new mature brand of animated film and provided a way for filmmakers to instantly distinguish their cartoons from conventional animated standard. So we have some comics over here. Yeah, they seem more like stories, storybooks and stuff. I think was it like Testosterone who earlier said that like this style kind of reminds them of like the UPA like Powerpuff Girls Dexter's Laboratory style. During this time you also did see like I remember Yogi Bear. He's a real one. He's a real one. And then Quick Draw and Poco. Oh, look at these like colors. They feel very 50s, right? Anymore. Oh, nope. I unfortunately do not have a Tumblr account, so unfortunately we can't look at the rest of this. But I do want to look at like what were some films that were like poppin' in the 50s. Luckily, we do have a Wikipedia page with all of that, so let's take a look-see. Oh, Cinderella is the first one of the 1950s. Okay. Alice in Wonderland. I thought this said The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I was like, there's no way that was from the 50s. Alice in Wonderland. Oh, The Snow Maiden. So one of these days, I do want to also do a deep dive into Soviet animation because, fun fact, when I was doing my master's degree a while back, one of my very first like research papers was on Soviet animation, and I don't quite remember why. Oh, you know what? I think it's because I was taking like an introductory class. Usually when you do like a master's program, in my history program, you take like a introductory program that just kind of introduces you to like techniques in research and like methodology, stuff like that. And our professor gave us like a list of topics that we could do a research paper on, and I think the one that I gravitated towards was Soviet animation. So I know a little bit. Unfortunately, a lot of it has like flown out of my head, but I do remember like a fair bit about like Soviet animation at the time. And Snow Maiden, I think, was it Snow Maiden or the Snow Queen? Was like a really good, like the animation is just like really, really good. Can you tell us more about Worker and Parasite? I just remember like, was it Krusty's reaction of like, what the hell was that? Oh, Soyuz Multfilm is like kind of like the premier animation studios of the Soviet Union back in the day. I think a lot of them were like, does it say here? I want to say I read somewhere that like some of them were actually like based in Ukraine. Like it was Soviet Union, but it's like modern day Ukraine essentially. I always felt Tom and Jerry to be very indicative of the style changes between the decades. Yeah, actually, yeah. Because, like, if we go back to... We take this out. If you go all the way to the 40s, I did actually touch on animation of the 40s. I just forgot to do it for the 50s. But if you look at their designs, like, for Bugs Bunny and for Tom and Jerry, it doesn't quite look like what we're familiar with, right? Like, Tom actually looks like a cat. Like, and that's not to say that, like, 50s and 60s Tom doesn't look like a cat, but he very much looks like a photorealistic almost cat. Bugs is also looking a little bit different. Like, he looks more like a generic rabbit before, like, the style gets a little bit more individualized to be like the Bugs Bunny that we know and love today. But yeah, it's interesting to see, like, the style changes. I always preferred older Tom and Jerry. Nice. Very true. Tom and Jerry spanned so long that it wound up in so many different styles that were contemporary at the time. Yeah, exactly. 60s were where they started being very hippie and losing their charm. Yeah, we can take a look-see at that. Actually, let me finish my thought first. Let's take a look at the Soyuz Multfilm. This was the, like I said, the premier animation studio for the Soviet Union. They animated, here we go. Actually, it's funny that you guys talk about Tom and Jerry because there's a Soviet version of Tom and Jerry. It's not Worker and Parasite. It's called New Pogodi. And the reason why I know is because Beans actually grew up with New Pogodi and Cheburashka and Winnie Pooh, who is the Russian Winnie the Pooh. Let me see if I can... You know what? I could also just look it up. So, New Pogodi... Yeah, just you wait. This is the Russian Tom and Jerry. And, do they have pictures? Instead of a cat and mouse, it's a wolf and a bunny. And, let's see. I remember I showed this to a friend of mine way back in, like, the 2010s, and for some reason, like, they were really familiar with it, and they're like, oh yeah, there's actually, like, yaoi of those characters. And I was like, what? So these are the characters. It's a wolf. He looks very groovy, and then there's, like, a bunny, and it's basically Tom and Jerry. Let me see if I can type this up. New Pogodi. There we go. Hey, it wasn't me that said it. It was my friend at the time. But yeah, New Pogodi. It means, like, just you wait. So yeah, it was these two. And it kind of looks like they're buddies, but they were constantly... Oh, you know what? They're not as much Tom and Jerry as they are Roadrunner and Coyote. Those words are not in the Bible. The later Tom and Jerry's got a little weird. The late 60s were something... Well, now I want to see 60s Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they get a little bit more anthropomorphized, right? Like, they got the big old heads that look more like baby heads, right? Oh, look, there's a handy little chart of, like, the different styles. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, like, I feel like the 1963 to 67, like, Jerry looks the most baby-like. And look, the early Tom, he looks more cat-like. He looks a little bit more like a kitty cat. I can't look at this without hearing the, like, the way that he yowls in, like, the cartoons where he's like, yo! Galahughes, hello. Thank you for the raid. Thank you. How you guys doing? Hello, we're doing our style studies and we're focusing on the 1950s, but it also turned into us looking at Tom and Jerry throughout the years. So hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Babinka Bear. I'm your local Sun Bear art history teacher and educational streamer. We're looking at the 1950s right now. That's such a sick emote. I kind of love that. I kind of adore that. Oh my god, you're schmoovin'. But how was your stream? What were you guys chatting about? Let me know. Let me catch up on chat and then we'll also say hi to the raiders. First Russia rips off Gravity Falls, now Roadrunner Coyote. Where does the theft end? I think this was concurrent though. Like I think Nupal was like concurrent with like Roadrunner and Coyote. I don't know about the ripping off Gravity Falls though, but I will say that, like I said, like I did study Soviet animation like in college, and I don't know, like I feel like it's not necessarily underrated because the entirety of Russia like loves it, but I would say check it out because like I definitely don't want to kind of like lessen the animation as like just ripping off like Western animation. It's really good. Some of the cartoons still like stay in my head. Looking at them, I see it, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, Pick School? Like you kind of just look at them and it's like, yeah, I can kind of see they're being yaoi of those characters. Look up Oh Solar Meow for a good example of what are we doing anymore? Oh Solar Meow. Oh, why is that the first one? Oh, with like the big eyes. And like I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah. Like how like it can be a little off-putting a little bit, right? And then let's see who we have here. Galahughes, hello. Plata64, hello. Ahoy. Ahoy hoy. Magic Guide, hello. Oh, hello. I'm gaming, but I really want to watch this segment. You could teach me more because I don't know too much about like 1950s animation. Let's see. It was a very vibes-based stream. Truly an IDK when I'm doing stream. I've definitely had those streams as well. I want to feel like some of my like just chatting streams from like earlier this week and last week were very like, I don't know what we're talking about, but we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. Some of 60s Tom and Jerry's were made in Czechoslovakia. Interesting. I didn't know that. I always do wonder where some of the animation gets outsourced to because I know nowadays it's like Korea, right? They did that like wholesale, even the opening theme of Gravity Falls. Ah, I see. That Steven Bradbury Soviet animation was wild to watch, a very unique style. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we were talking about Soyuz Multfilm earlier. I think another example. What did I say? Winnie Pooh. This is Winnie the Pooh but Soviet. And this is more so 60s, but what's really fun and something that isn't portrayed in this picture is that Winnie Pooh's feet aren't attached to the rest of his body. He's kind of doing like a Rayman situation where like he's just kind of floating above his feet. Tom and Jerry Yaoi was not in my vibe. No, it's not Tom and Jerry Yaoi. It's Russian Tom and Jerry. It's Nupal Yaoi. I usually like Chuck Jones, but his Tom and Jerry cartoons are not it. Soviet animation of Ray Bradbury in the 80s for There Will Come Soft Rains. Okay. Have you seen Japanese Tom and Jerry? It's pretty new. I've heard that like Tom and Jerry has gotten pretty big in Japan. Because I know that like they sell merch of Tom and Jerry in certain stores, right? Orb. While Tom and Jerry is on topic, have you seen Chinese Tom and Jerry gacha game in where they become angels or something? I'm kind of curious about that, actually. Let me put this away. Tom and Jerry Chinese gacha. What the heck? What the heck? What is this? Oh my gosh. Tom and Jerry gacha game exists in ping pongs between Cartoon Accurate and JRPG? That's wild. That's wild. I've seen images of this little guy. Oh, Winnie Pooh. US 50s animation is usually defined by UPA stuff like Gerald McBoing Boing. Winnie Pooh, any relation to Vinnie Vinesauce? Not that I know of. Not yet, at least. That's not in the Bible either. Tom and Jerry and We Bare Bears are extremely big in Korea and Japan. Ah, okay. They're doing crazy things with Tom and Jerry. I'm gay for that, Jerry. I like the carpet. The Tom carpet, where it's like a stair carpet. Tom and Jerry carpet stair. It's where he's like flattened. Wait, let me hide this. It's this one. It's this one. Poor guy. Poor guy. I like that he doesn't even look like hurt or anything. He's just like more so in shock, you know? He's just like, oh. I love that. HETQW5, hello, hello. Oh my gosh, this song, Freddie My Love. I was a background bear for this one. No, it wasn't Freddie My Love. It was Beauty School Dropout. Oh, why are you laughing at me? Why are you laughing? I'm not a jerk. I'm just appreciating Tom and Jerry. Laughing at Tom. Did you see that jerk? Look at him. Yeah, I was a backup dancer. Not a backup dancer. I was a background dancer for, or maybe it was also Freddie My Love. I forgot. I did! You're laughing at me? Why would you laugh at me? I'm just a cute little bear. Just like this guy. Let me see if I can find a video of Winnie Pooh. I just want you to see how he moves. I just want you to see that we have like a Rayman situation. Winnie Pooh. Okay, I'm gonna mute it. Before Soyuz Molt Film like tries to take my kneecaps. There's Piglet. I just want you guys to see how he walks. He's so cute. This is so charming. Oh no, he's falling. No, not the prickly pricklies. There we go. Like, like his feet aren't attached to his body. How's he doing that? How is he doing that? This is so charming, right? A little piglet. Oh, like, look at this. Look at their, like, jaunty little, like, walk cycle. Isn't that cute? Yeah, this is more so the 60s and 70s, but we will eventually get to that. You were in the FNAF musical? The FNAF musical didn't exist when I was in high school. I was in my high school's rendition of Grease, but I was like a backup. Not backup. I was like a background person. I didn't have like a major role. I was just like Pink Lady number 2 or like, you know, background bear number 1, you know. I love the background art. Yeah, like the hand drawn, almost like Crayola, like style, crayon style, not Crayola. I always remember that Tom and Jerry episode where they're cowboys for some reason, and Tom uses Jerry to lick his cigarillo clothes. Yeah, like, I think it became a meme, didn't it? It became a meme. Yeah, watercolor or crayon background. My face one, this is how they got around the embargo on Western cinema. Oh, to like kind of remake it on their own. But there are some really good ones too. If we're talking about Soyuz Molt Film. There was a really good one. Oh, Cheburashka is also a classic. Is it the Soviet Ice Queen? Here we go. Uh-oh, rock and roll party queen. Like, look at this animation. That has to be like rotoscoped, right? It's so fluid. That has to be rotoscoped. And that doesn't like diminish like the level of animation, because like, you know how much skill you need to like do something like that? It looks rotoscoped, right? It's so cute and charming. And this is based off the actual like Hans Christian Andersen film, rather than like, you know, how Frozen, they kind of like I feel like they didn't go far enough with like making the Ice Queen icy. I think I remember this movie. I don't think I ever actually watched it. There's one Soviet film that I remember studying in college, and it was one where like a guy either hurts or kills a person, but then it like rewinds to like how he had like I think he just like hurts or injures like an old woman or something. And like that's how the movie starts. It's like he injures this person and everyone's like, oh, you're like a terrible person, you're a piece of poop and stuff like that. And then there's like a narrator that's like, wait a minute, let's rewind this situation and let's see what led up to this event. And it like goes over how this guy had like a really hard day and like everything was just like going wrong for him. And like him injuring the woman wasn't necessarily justified, but it's kind of like one of those like, oh, he did this because he's like a victim of like capitalism or like a victim of like, you know, circumstance. And I just remember like that sticking in my head. And there's another one where it's like a guy who's like who's been working way too hard and he just goes on a walk. Like he decides to not finish his work for the day and he goes for a walk and he ends up walking into like essentially like seeing like the rest of the world, but then it like gradually becomes more and more like surrealist, and it's almost like a commentary on like what could happen if you just like I guess like go beyond the walls of like your mundane life. Remember when Frozen was supposed to be based on the Snow Queen and then they just scrapped the entire story because Let It Go? Yeah, exactly. Like I think this is what that movie was supposed to be, was like a more straightforward like rendition of like the Snow Queen. Like the movie with Edward Norton. I'm not sure. Like I want to see if I can Soviet going for a walk, or was it called like the glass flute or something like that? No. Glass flute? Was that one of these? Oh Jesus Christ. Is it this one? I don't remember if it's this one, but this one is very surreal. Like this is an animation. It's not just like a bunch of stills. It's, I don't know, this one I vaguely remembered like watching when I was studying it for my like first year thesis. It was pretty wild. I don't know if this is the one where like a guy just takes a walk, but it's just like all in all very like surreal. But yeah, pretty good stuff. Because not kind of related but not at all. Have you watched The Triplets of Belleville? It's very interesting you say that, because like that actually I did watch it, but I've never finished it. But I remember Beans was the first person to recommend that film to me, and we actually like one of the first times that I like hung out with him and like another friend of ours was when we like went over to his house to watch it. So you actually like maybe remember something very, very nice. It was like one of the first times that we like ever hung out. We never finished it though. One of these days we gotta finish it. Is that style someone used when animating The Simpsons? Steamed hams trend was a thing. I think it was called steamed hams, but it was banned in the Soviet Union. I'm kind of interested in seeing that. The stink eye from the girl with the flower. I need that as a reaction image. I was talking about falling down with Michael Douglas, not Norton. Oh, you never found out if the lady found her son. Yeah, we need to rewatch it. I'm just gonna put this in for later. We're not gonna watch it right now. I'll probably watch it afterwards. Oh, I can't say I'm familiar. This might, yeah, it might be similar to the Soviet movie that I was referencing. Oh my god, we haven't done Time Guesser today. So yeah, we didn't do too much I guess research on like 1950s animation, but we yapped a little bit about animation in general. So maybe that'll be my homework. My homework, not yours. Don't worry, no homework for you guys. But let's go ahead and end off with Time Guesser, and we'll call it from there with our we're gonna test our knowledge with the 1950s. That is if we get something that is 1950s. It's very possible that all 5 of our levels will have nothing to do with the 50s, but maybe we'll at least have a decade that we've studied already. Wow. 1959 proto-anime Magic Boy has a cute bear in it. Ooh! I'm interested. Alright guys, let's do this. I don't think this is the 1950s. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this doesn't look very 1950s. Okay, this is Cyrillic. Can I read it? I don't know what that first letter is, but I think this is either Z or E. This is N. Tralnaya? So maybe this is Russia, or this is a country that uses Cyrillic, such as Belarus or Russia. We have an ad break already. What the heck? She's swamping us with homework. No, no, no. I swear I just got deja vu. I actually have started getting some repeat images on Time Guesser. Does Georgian use Cyrillic? I'm actually not sure. I think Georgian might actually have their own alphabet. Because of the flag. Oh, good catch. That does look Georgian. Okay, how about this? I'm gonna put you guys in the last ad break of the stream. We'll put you guys in the cup corner. We'll come back, we'll do Time Guesser, and then we'll go ahead and call it for the day, for the night. I think there was a flag on the left. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. But I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Okay, this music is definitely a little bit more 70s. But it's supposed to be nostalgic for the 50s, so it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. But hello, how you guys doing? We're back. We're back. That should be the last ad break for the stream, unless we just go really long on Time Guesser, which I don't foresee. I did not look up the Georgian flag during the break. I was actually looking up some of the recommendations you guys were telling me about. The steamed hams, but it's banned in the USSR, and Magic Boy, and Falling Down. And I think a few of you like recommended some other things, but I'll look it up after the stream. But I did not look up the Georgian flag. You might be right that I know that Georgia has its own alphabet, but I don't know if like just because they have it doesn't mean that that is like the alphabet they use like in like buildings, you know? Because for example, like Philippines has like a pre-colonial alphabet, but that's like they don't use it anymore. They use the Latin alphabet. So it could be that like Georgian has its own alphabet, but they still use Cyrillic because it's a former Soviet Union country, right? There was something about the flag that made me want to like try Belarus as well. I don't know why, but we could do, okay. We have Belarus. I was thinking like its capital Minsk, or if we go for Georgia, Tbilisi. Dun, 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 dun. I feel like it's either a coin flip between those two, and if I'm trying to follow my gut feeling. Crazy for me. Okay, I'm gonna follow my gut and say Belarus, even though it just might be Georgia. I think you have you have something there, but let's do Minsk. 24-hour time guesser stream. I have thought of it. Well, not 24 hours, but I have thought of a stream that was entirely dedicated to just time guesser. Even though technically the decade studies are that. This looks pretty contemporary, like fashion-wise. I'm not seeing too many people. Emery Lane, hello. Welcome to class. We're kind of at the tail end of things, but we did a study of the 1950s for today to get good at time guesser. This picture does not look like it's like from the 1950s, but we're trying our best. The summer nights, Luella, Wella, ooh. 90% tangent, 10% time guessing? A little bit, a little bit. Hello, Emery Lane, hello. Moody. I forgot why it was that I was like, maybe this is Belarus, right? But I do feel like you might be right that like this is Georgian. Now, you know what? You know what? We'll do Georgia, and if it's Belarus, I will laugh. I will just be like, I will give a hearty lol. This does look a little bit more contemporary, so let's do 2023, and let's hope for the best. It was Minsk! It was Belarus! That's crazy. I did say that I was gonna try and follow my gut feeling. I followed it, and then I was like, nah. We gotta follow the gut feeling. We always gotta follow the gut feeling, right? Right? A silly hwehwe. A hearty lol. It was Minsk, Belarus. And we were only 3 years off. That's not too bad. No. No, I thought it was on cooldown. No. We'll get him next time. I'll follow my gut instinct next time. Let's do it. Ooh, okay. We got black and white. Let's look at the vehicles. Pretty curvy. Let's look for some text here. Is this, wait. This is Latin. I can't say, Vandelar, Gebruik, Overstik, and Trottoir. I feel like that's Dutch. I want to say Dutch, right? Maybe this is Amsterdam? Heineken's Bieren? Wait. Heineken beer? Maybe this is German. Rigo Souvenirs. Café Populaire. Night. Rembrandt Bar? Okay, so maybe this is Amsterdam. This looks like a silly language. I vote Dutch. We have been in serious problem. I do want to say Amsterdam. Question is time period. Amsterdam. Actually, it was Rembrandt from Amsterdam, or was he from like, say like Utrecht or something? Let's do Utrecht. What I thought was a Georgian flag was really the old Belarusian flag with the Pahonia coat of arms on it. Oh, I see. It's okay though. It's okay. It's all good. Time period wise, I'm not sure because maybe this is 50s, 60s because like no wait, like the cover over the wheels, it's a little bit more separated, so it's like maybe let's say this is 40. No, 30s. Oh, but look at the style of the coat too. This is kind of hard because it could even be more contemporary. That looks like a leather jacket, you know? Is this leather? I'm hopelessly devoted to you. Long coats. Something about the leather jacket makes me want to say that it's later, like 50s, you know? To you. I say 30s or 50s? Yeah, like maybe early 50s? It's the leather jacket that was throwing me off because like if we're going off of the car and the fenders, it being separated is more so 30s. And the fact that like not everyone is wearing a hat too. Like some of them are wearing hats, but not everyone, which makes me think that it's a little later. Because it's like around the 50s where people stop wearing hats so much, or 40s actually. Let's do 1952 Utrecht. 1950, and it was Amsterdam. It was Amsterdam. I just wasn't sure where Rembrandt was from. But they're using a lot of hats. So many hats. I think that this is maybe China. Okay, so we're in the US. This looks like the stock exchange, right? Hopelessly devoted. New York Stock Exchange. Okay, okay. The world puts its stock in us. But the question is when? When was it? Oh, we could zoom in a lot. Can we get a date? Can we get a date? No. Wait, international currencies? Alright guys, we need to wait, April. It doesn't have a year. It just says April. Alright, we need to cross-reference. When was the stock like this? Alright, Babin Cubs, let's do some research. Like, when was the stock like this? Let's go to New York. Din, din, din. I actually don't know where the stock exchange is, but I'm just gonna put
Soy
pancakes. Power you're supplying. It's electrifying. I'm just gonna put it in a random place in Manhattan. Far south of Manhattan, you say? Okay. How far south? Are we talking like Brooklyn? Should we look at the fashion, I guess? The film kind of reminds me of like 2000s. Or maybe even 2010s. You're the one that I want. Let's say 2009. Oh, southern part of Manhattan. Okay. Who. One that I want. Who. Show me Times Square. Right. Oh, where to go? Here. Times Square's here. Yeah, Times Square's right here. So I'm just putting it kind of like south right here. Bites nails. When Martin goes to the stock exchange and bets on soy and wins like $1,000. Soy! Let's say, wait. 2008 was the recession though. I don't know if that would mean like I would recognize it. The film, it's like pretty blurry, which means that people were like running around and stuff. Oh, actually the computers. Look at these little box computers. A little earlier maybe? 2002? 2001? To be fair though, I had a box computer for like a while. So like I assume they're showing us the .com crash or something. 80s or 90s. Oh, you guys think like maybe 90s? Oh, wait, look at the style of phone on this ghost over here. Dun, 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 dun. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Let's do 98. 98, New York. Nice. Okay. 1985. 1985. Oh, interesting. I would have thought 90s. Wall Street? I don't know where that is. I don't know where that is. Like in relevance to like where in Manhattan. I guess it says financial district right there. I don't know New York architecture that well, but I don't know if I mentioned it while you were in chat, Owen, but I am considering a New York trip. I don't know when yet, but I've been considering it. Vivamos nuestras fiestas patrias, seguros y en paz. Oh, I think this is Colombia? This is the Colombian flag, right? It also says Colombiano. So Colombia, Bogota? Or Bogota, right? Down in Fidi? Downtown Manhattan? Take the A or C. We can hang out, take out to the good spots. I'm still deciding on it. Cause there's like a couple other places that we've been considering, like Seattle. Yeah, Bogota, right? Because there's like the accent mark on it. So Bogota. We have a phone here. That looks like a 2010s phone. Or that looks like a phone I would have had in the 2010s. But maybe it's a little bit earlier. Let's do 2014. Nice, 2017, it was Bogota. And then last round, oh, interesting. This is either, wait, hold on. This is Cyrillic, but this is either Dutch, no, not Dutch, Danish or Swedish flag, right? No, wait, there's other flags here. Is that the Stars and Stripes? This is Cyrillic. Wait, this is Pietrogkas. Pietrogkas? Either that or it's very stylized Latin, but no, I'm pretty sure this is Cyrillic. All alone. Why? Oh, Sandy. Yeah, because, like, look, there's, like... Oh, wait, that's... Wait, I'm getting confused. There's so many different flags. Because there's stripes here, so, like, maybe stars and stripes, but it could also be the Greek flag. Because that kind of looks like a cross, right? Like, here. And then I would just assume that this is, like, a cross for, like, a medical facility rather than, like, the flag of Switzerland, but... Huh, I'm not sure. If we look at the car, though... It looks like it could be 40s. 40s, like, they still have, like, that distinct, like, very ornate grille. And the lines are more so going horizontal rather than vertical. So that's a little bit more 40s, maybe even during wartime, because we're seeing some military outfits. This doesn't quite look like Nazi uniform, though. I'm just not sure where to pin this. Because there's Cyrillic, but the flag here? Unless there's, like, a coat of arms. Because I think there's another one here with, like, a coat of arms. Like here. Here on this car, it's like the cross, but it looks like there's some kind of coat of arms in the center. That's Greek, the right. Oh, that's true. I'm so like, because I'm so used to looking at Cyrillic from like my Russian lessons. You're right. Russian and Latin both, or Cyrillic and Latin both come from the Greek alphabet. Or rather, Cyrillic does come from, like, the... more so comes from, like, the Greek alphabet. So this could be Greece. Yeah, you guys are right. I'm just confused as to, like, why it looks like either the Danish or, like, the Swedish flag. But like I said, there could actually be, like, a coat of arms here that I'm missing. So we can do it. Let's do Athens. Your nose up. Oh, this is Beauty School Dropout. Let's do 47, Athens. Make a guess. 17 years off. It was actually in the 60s. 23-year-old King Constantine II of Greece waving towards crowds in Kozani during his royal tour shortly after his accession. He's wearing a black mourning band following the recent death of his father, King Paul. Paul! Thanks for the tip, you guys. Thanks for the tip. Up from where his left hand is, you can there's upper and lower case, and you can easily tell it's Greek. Ah, I see, I see. Thank you for the tip. We got to the high 30Ks this time. Not too bad, not too bad. Cool. The letter on the left were all uppercase, so it looks Cyrillic. Ah, that's fair. That's fair. It does look like Cyrillic. Alright, let me go ahead and put this in daily games. A hooker. Alright, we didn't get anything in the 50s. All of that learning, and we didn't get anything from the 50s. But at the very least, we can have it in our back pocket for next time, right? For next time. For tomorrow, maybe. For tomorrow. So tomorrow, we're streaming in the morning. It's Saturday, right? Tomorrow's Saturday. So yeah, we're streaming Saturday morning. We're going to be making more lino cut stamps out of Maya glyphs. I'm actually doing it for work, but I was like, I've really been enjoying like making these like lino cut stamp thingies. So you got one in the 50s? I already forgot. Breakdown. Breakdown, breakdown. Oh, it doesn't even fly. This was 60s. The one where the people on the street and they were not wearing a lot of hats. Oh, true. True, true, true. True. Beauty school dropout. True, true, true. So we were able to use a little bit more of our information, right? We were. Beauty school dropout. So yeah, we're going to be making some lino cut stamps tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. PST. Last day before the time change, before the daylight savings time change. Sag. But let's go ahead and do our mosh pit for the day. So for any new students here, we have an end of stream tradition, which is our end of stream mosh pit. Once I play some music, oh my gosh. It's the penis music. Do you guys want to mosh to the Magic School Bus weird music from Venus? Yeah, once you hear the music, go ahead and spam your favorite emotes, and I'm gonna make your little stream avatars fight each other. There's no correlation between how many emotes you spam and who wins the mosh pit. It's not rigged. It's RNG. Oh boy. Alright. Stop the Sandra D. Rigged? It's not rigged though. It's not. You'll see. You'll see. Alright, once you hear the music, get to moshing. We're not going the full 10 minutes, by the way. We're just going for like, let's say like 2 rounds. Meow, 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 meow. Daylight savings time again. I know. I know. Wait, 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 wait. Oopsie. Wow. Mosh pit. Get your ish together, California. We need you to abolish that so we can end it here in Mexico too. Dude, this music, it's just so funky. It's just so funky. Yeah, I also do wish that we could just not have daylight savings. Like, I would be very pleased if we stopped doing that, you know? This music, it's driving me insane. Like... Yo, iShowSpeed is streaming right now. We're not gonna raid into him. We have Eros, we have Mega Bronson. Liminal Lark is also streaming. Pocopia. Xochipilli. Bum, 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 bum. Yancha's also streaming. Let's go. Owen won the first round. A Lark stream, right? It's a rarity. It's a rarity. Teal Orb came through. Let's go. It's not rigged though. It's not. Almost rare as a Hiraga stream. True. Alright, one more round. One more round. We made it to class, but we're at the tail end. Hello, Mr. Rage. Hello. You're just in time for the mosh pit, though. It's okay. It's okay. There's always the VOD. We learned about the 1950s. Becca Bronson is streaming, but he also misspelled my name in his title. Why does he keep putting the A? Like, he put new emotes, thank you, Babinka Bear, but with like an A instead of an I. Like, how about I? Oh, it says BRB. No, it seems like he's there. It seems like he's there. How about I raid into him just to let him know what the spelling is. Binging with Babinka Babish. You won! Yeah, Pexco, you won. Pog. No, not the Chungus life. Okay, we're not listening to the full 10 minutes of this. We're not. No, don't put Babinka raid with an A. You have to do with an I. You have to do with an I. We're gonna raid into Mega Bronson. I did make his new emotes. I did make his new emotes. Please put Babinka raid. Please put... Not Babinka. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, not the Babinka raid. It has an I. It has an I. No. No, we're gonna raid. I hope you guys, despite everything, have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. And as always, I'll see you guys when I see you guys. No, please, the proper spelling, please. Oh, thank you, Emery. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bibinka raid. Exactly. I'm gonna copy Cielo's message. And we're gonna raid. Okay. Okay. Bye.